Caretakers and landscapers, investors and interns, veterinarians, restaurant owners, restaurant workers, tour guides, trail guides, equine therapists, and so many more. Now that's horsepower. Virginia's economy wins with horses.
The Pennsylvania breeding program is the best program in the country. The stallion awards, the owner bonuses, also the restricted races and the stakes races for Pennsylvania breds. This year, 8 breeders are on track to earn over $200,000 in breeders awards, and 2 could hit the $1 million mark. We have the best program in the country. Take advantage of the fantastic program that we have. Learn more at pabred.com.
Nothing compares to a horse. They inspire greatness, command respect. Because Virginia's horse industry isn't just racing and farming. It's built on the skills, labors, and passions of dedicated people working in every industry throughout our state. Horses fuel the economy, create jobs, support thousands of families, and even make dreams come true. Virginia's economy wins with horse. Find out more at virginiahorseracing.com.
Sirius XM Sports presents At the Races with Steve Byk. Horse racing, handicapping, interviews. This is At the Races with Steve Byk.
From a foggy Los Alamitos racecourse, a very good Friday, race fans. Sirius 162 XM 207 Sports Zone 999. If you're listening to Sirius XM online and at our website, stevebyk.com. Twin Spires weekend preview upon us, as is opening day at Hot Springs. Oaklawn. Two meets. This holiday season meet before the big season, 5th season, as I said to Nancy Altis yesterday, right? Winter, spring, summer, fall, and Oaklawn season. That's their mantra there in Hot Springs. Well, we'll watch for. I do want to play that. I do want to play that pick 3. I'll tell you that. And on that topic, had a fabulous time last night. Big Leo, the one and only Vukman himself, Leo Vukmanovich, told me several weeks ago, I'm taking you to the Dow, going to the Dow Ray. And so we met in Pico last night, had a fabulous dinner. Just the place is just magical. It's literally time has stood still in there. And actually, the owner, Mark, I'm going to draw a blank on his last name, stopped by. And of course, it's a place that is, rich in racing, in Southern California racing. And actually, originally more on the harness side, the harness horse and a good horn, real good, Sir Dalray, and the family had. I didn't realize this. They had the original location from 1951, right in Inglewood, right at Hollywood Park, and then they had one in Fullerton, and then in Pico. Pico, I think he said 1959. I think in Pico. It's just such a special atmosphere, and when we're here for it's different at Breeders' Cup time, and in April when we come for Santa Anita Derby, when you're here for this period, Christmas approaching, 2 weeks away, right? There's Christmas parties all over the place. They've got private rooms and even in the main dining room, and the place decorated to the hilt. It was just fabulous. Had the classic. I think I've ordered the same thing every time I've ever gone. rock shrimp appetizer with then Caesar salad and the pepper steak, the filet for me. But thanks to Leo, he's just the greatest. Then it's funny, we close to 2 hours sitting, and I don't think. If it was 120 minutes, I maybe we talked racing 15% of it. Mostly the families and the grandchildren. He's got 5. He's got 5 to contend with, and he babysits the littlest one on a regular basis. Leo's the one who put me on to and really pushed the higher denomination opportunity. He's the one who really made it clear that this was where the retail player, if you wanted to try to neutralize CAW, that the higher denomination bet was the place. And so for Oaklawn to introduce one, because they're very funny. I mean, what I said to Nancy yesterday, and those of you that have been long-term Oaklawn fans and players, Charlie Sella, I mean, Charlie wanted nothing to do. He it's funny, that mentality, I hadn't thought about this yesterday, but that mentality about not trying to lure the patrons, the players, down the exotic path, that that might have proven valuable here in recent years, honestly, because of course the jackpot bets generally were usury. And Charlie Sella's philosophy was that it would hurt churn, and he honestly, I mean, there's people that understand the pool liquidity better than me, but there's a lot to be said for that. That multi-race wagers, it ties things up. They're much harder to hit, and if that wasn't enough. You got CAW that floods the pool, floods the zone with their ability to cover the vast majority of logical and not just logical, but potentially lucrative combinations. So in this particular case, it's pretty cool that Oaklawn, that the last, I guess, the last 15 years, I suppose, has really, come aboard. They've come on board with the modern wagering menu, and so starting today with that 7th, with the 7th, the 9 race card today, and 10 race card tomorrow. So last 3. The Get Out pick 3, which actually is a cool moniker for it. Actually, I take that back. It is 10 races today. What happened? I'm missing the 10th race morning lines. Well, all right. Well, it's on there. It's on the PPs. Anyway, plenty to do today. Nick Tamaro is going to join us first. In fact, we'll do plenty of handicapping early. And my man Vin, my man Vin the Stevedore, Vin texted me. He said, "Are there going to be any picks today?" He said, "I know it's a quiet weekend." So, quiet weekend? There's no such thing as a quiet weekend. There just isn't. Between. Well, the Turfway, I know James is certainly going to give you looks at the Turfway Pick 4, the Stakes Pick 4, the synthetic championships, and Tony Kalo, to start the second half around 10:30. So Turfway, Nick has got cross-country Pick 5, which swings back into action. It's been kind of quiet on the cross-country Pick 5 front out of New York, but retail only, 15% take. Today, and there'll be plenty of Oaklawn tie-in, clearly. There'll be a lot of Oaklawn tie-ins during the winter with Aqueduct and Oaklawn. And so for today, the Aqueduct 7th and 8th, and the Oaklawn 6th, 7th, and 8th. 3:40, it starts, concludes by 4:52. Aqueduct 7, Oaklawn 6, Aqueduct 8, Oaklawn 7 and 8. And then tomorrow, Aqueduct 8 and 9, and Oaklawn 6, 7, and 8. And same kind of thing, actually. In fact, the exact same post times, which is pretty cool. So the schedule will be easy to approach. So, glancing at the slate, Louisiana Champions Day, we'll talk to the other KK, KK2, Kevin Kilroy. He'll join us in the second half. I had a little bit of an awkward scheduling morning because everybody seemingly needed to be in the late half of the show, second half of the show. So you got Turfway, you got Fairgrounds. We'll talk to Mike Welch, and we'll do. I'm going to kind of foist it on him. The win using Thorograph for the two races at Gulfstream, the two Tropical Park. Oaks and Derby. The Oaks goes first as the 8th, and then the nightcap is the Derby. 2 12-horse fields, and really interesting. I mean, both of them, half of both fields are easily eligible to win, and there's outsiders that, I mean, at the least are board hit candidates. Two really good betting races, and Mike seemed excited to talk about them. So we've got that so Gulfstream, Turfway, Fairgrounds, Oaklawn, Aqueduct, and then here, which I'm sitting here in Los Al. I might want to mention the right. I might want to mention the futurity. We'll talk to Steve Anderson, probably about 10:50 to 11:10 in that range, over the top of into hour 3. And there's a lot to do with Anderson because he's got his eyes as well on the HKIR, and the barrier draw proved a little interesting, and Steve will launch into it. Steve and Marcus Hirsch in the forum have got plenty of coverage for you. So keep an eye. We'll look forward to that. But also, in addition, between the two, Los Al and Hong Kong, and if I know Anderson literally, he's got the futurity here, right, in the afternoon. Then the champion of champions, $700,000 at midnight, 9:01 Pacific time is post time for the champion of champions, and the field of 10 is set. Jericho, the 2-1 favorite, out wide. Scoop in the 9 holes. Scoop's Dynasty for Luke Lindsay. 9-2 in the 8 hole. 7-2 on Stanley Cartel. The other one that Lindsay is saddling. 3-1 for Empressum, the 7-year-old. The outlandish $2.5 million winner, 25 wins, Empressum. So as Steve told you last week, this was lining up the champion of champions. One of only a handful of quarter horse races we talk about really over the course of the year. So Steve Anderson with a hatful of information. Craig Dato, Sports Injury Central, and Rich Eng for Pro Pick. How about last night? Dave Hill, he had to sweat it out again. But Dave told you, as much as Atlanta tried to lose that game last night, the penalty, they set a penalty record? Did they for either I knew the penalties were piling up. They managed to win out, and Dave said they could win outright. So good start to the NFL weekend, courtesy of Dave Hill. Hammer, we'll talk to Hammer. I hope he gets up early because I kind of need him at 8. 8 or not 8. I guess it would be. The timing is 7 Pacific. So hopefully Hammer wakes up. I think that's it. Is that everybody? I think it is, right? Let me just confirm because last week, the Hammer was polite about it at Symposium, but we sort of Hammer slipped through the cracks last Friday, which was my fault. So, all right, and Brian asked me, he said, "What's the lineup?" I said, "Well." I said, I know who, but somehow we got to. We're gonna have to shoehorn about 8 visits in. I think in the last 90 minutes. So this is a roundabout way to say that my man Vin, he thought it was a quiet weekend. He's wrong. It's not a quiet weekend.
It is At the Races with Steve Byk on Sirius XM Radio.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Naira Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boost.
And I'm just trying to find the story. There it is. EHV1 positive, 2 Barnes quarantine, and Barnes 25 and 26. Just 1 horse so far, and ideally the quarantine, goes. The clock ticks, and we get through the quarantine without any further issue, and this could be cleared up by the 27th, essentially. All right, so always, and from this time of year, late, beginning of winter till spring, this pops up. So everybody on alert. All right, that's pretty much the key. That was the one story that I wanted to make sure to get in. All right, so let's grab Nick and pull this train out of the station. I was going to slip Matt Hegarty in this morning, Matt, to do some summarization of Symposium, and there's a few other hard news stories that stop betting button miscue at parks. It's amazing. I actually right in the shadow, in the wake of the tote security conversation on Monday at Tucson, where I don't know why Curtis Linnell is not more outgoing and communicative. I mean, I've reached out to him, many times, and get fairly mundane responses to tote protocol issues and security issues, and it did not exactly set a great example for observers on Monday by refusing to passing on questions. This is something the industry's got to just Nick Tamaro's with us now, and Nick certainly agrees. I mean, being communicative and being the transparent word sort of I sort of cringe, but communicating. You heard, in fact, Wednesday, Nick, you heard Dave O'Rourke say point blank that one of the things that he wants to do is be open and engage and answer questions and help keep the confusion and potential for misunderstanding to a minimum.
Yeah, and I think you used the right words there in two different sort of capacities, in that the road to transparency starts with openness, right? I mean, you can't be transparent unless you're open to conversation about things. And I think what Dave alluded to on Wednesday, and what all of us would agree on, is that a lot of different topics that include tote-related conversations, in addition to what we're now discussing much more regularly with regards to CAW, is that there hasn't been any openness. And all of this has been going on behind the shadows. And naturally, when people are aware something is going on, even if they're made aware of something, it doesn't pertain specifically to this. It pertains to every walk of life. If you find out something's going on and you know nothing about it, well, you're going to assume the worst in many cases, right? And when you're somebody that's putting your money into this, and you feel as if, like all of us, and you feel as if we're not being given not even a portion of the story, we're getting dribs and drabs of it, and we're learning things regularly, and some of which are borderline unbelievable, you lose your faith, you lose your confidence. And at the end of the day, anybody, whether it's buying something at a store, wagering money, investing, something like that, if you're doing something with your money, boy, you'd like to have a little bit of confidence that it's going the right way, Steve. I think that's the origin of the problem. And of course, things like this happen on the back of these conversations taking place. And obviously we wish they'd never happen, period. But it has an unbelievably horrible effect on overall confidence of the people that are putting their money into this game, and naturally so.
Well, and I'll thank you again. I mentioned it yesterday as I was doing some recapping in the opening about the symposium experience. But thanks to Hammer, and I'll talk to him next hour, and Dick Powell and you, and then joining in on the Q&A with Dave O'Rourke, particularly on Wednesday. So enhances Nick enhances any experience. It might be dining out, it might be afternoon wagering, whatever it is.
Depends on who you ask, right? But no, that was really enjoyable. Thank you for I was glad to get to go. I hadn't gone in 4 years, and it was obviously good to reconnect with people. It's a good industry opportunity to see people that are either vendors or suppliers or power brokers. And I had a great conversation with the folks at HiWoo about how they can be helped by some of us on the data science subcommittee of the HISA Next Gen Advisory Committee. And, I've told them from the beginning, and I'll be completely transparent about it, if I can do anything to help them catch bad actors, that's going to help the game. So I'm in on that 110%. And I think they're going to develop some ways to start to do that. And, that's something that's of utmost importance, right? We want the game cleaned up. We want the right people being in the positions to take care of horses and win races. And we want the wrong people gone. So it was a good opportunity there. And, Dave is a guy that I think, because to some extent he's with NYRA, he's in charge of NYRA, there's a little bit of extra baggage that he then has to, unfortunately and undeservedly, tote around. But, Dave has been the one, and these conversations for Dave have been going on for better than a decade. And I first sat at a dinner in Saratoga 13 years ago, and heard him talking about the topic of CAW. I had absolutely no idea what it was, and just listened. And this is somebody who came into racing as an outsider, was not involved in racing, didn't grow up in it, didn't do anything, has obviously completely immersed himself in the game. And oh, by the way, while all of this has been going on, he's had to oversee the complete financial resurrection of the company while also ensuring that it has any future whatsoever in working out one of the most amazing deals in the history of racing to secure a new Belmont. So yeah, I mean, you want to accuse me of being a Dave O'Rourke fan? I'm a Dave O'Rourke fan. If we had more Dave O'Rourkes, we'd be in really good shape. And that's not just because we're friendly. That's because he's good at his job and he's at least thinking progressively. And what I love about what he said to both of us on Wednesday is, he's not looking for flowers to be thrown at him because he did this. He's looking at this as a very basic step one, right? This is going to be an evolving situation. There's going to be a lot of different things that can be done. And what we can ask as horse players and as people in the game whose stake basically is to put our money into it is that somebody is trying something. And that's why I wanted to ask him, how much easier would it be for you? How much better would it be if you had a partner in this endeavor and somebody else to do it? And obviously he, would want that. So my understanding is there's going to be more. I hope that's the case. And we just see how this goes. And maybe it's not going to make that big an effect. Maybe it's not going to do anything to help some of the bad optics or the negative effects of what obviously happens when they put their money into the pools. But, at the same time, we have to recognize that you can't make an omelet without breaking eggs, right? You got to start somewhere. And we're starting there at least as a potential solution. There's going to have to be more. We're going to have to demand more. And the people that are in positions of power should be expected to do more. So I think it definitely has some real potential moving forward. And we'll have to see, whether there's more tracks, organizations, states, however it shakes out, joining up and looking at doing something to really start to diminish the effect of the CAWs being so prevalent in these pools. So it's the word that I keep using, Steve, is coexistence. I mean, we're not getting rid of them, right? As much as that would on paper be something that would be tremendously beneficial to everybody. They simply, they're too prevalent, right? I mean, it would be an incredible effect on liquidity, but we do need to know a little bit more. Can we get some information on how often are they winning? How much of the pool are they? We're not even getting a lot of this. And that's what really hurts confidence. And you can say consumer confidence because, we are people consuming the game. And that hurts. That's a bad thing. So again, it's full circle for us just in the last 5 minutes. It takes you back to that openness and transparency that we've lacked, and that has to change.
Well put. And a perfect summary. Thank you, Nick.
You're more than welcome. And I will say that after I was on your show on Wednesday, I walked up and had a conversation with Andy Asaro, who had said that I had said some things on the show he didn't agree with. He and I had a great conversation and realized in about 10 minutes that we're on the exact same page, basically. We see things. He might want solutions that I don't think are possible. I understand where he's coming from. All of us horse players have a lot of common ground, right? And at the end of the day, I tell anybody who listen, we're the ones who want the health and vitality of the game more than anybody. We don't necessarily want it to keep our jobs, right? Which now I can say that, but we want it because we want the future, right? I want my daughter taking her kids to the racetrack. I want them to experience a fraction of the enjoyment and the love that I have for this. I'm eternally grateful that 35 years ago, my father took me to the racetrack. He probably had, God rest his soul, he probably had no idea what it would turn into for me, but I know he's just beaming, knowing that I've made it now my livelihood and feel incredibly fortunate every day to be able to do so. And it's us that put our money into it, that bet, that handicap, that advocate, that do all of those things that want it most. And with us having a bit better platform as well is a good thing. And you're a credit to that as well, because you're giving a voice to, in many cases, the voiceless. And one of the things you do experience when you go to an event like the symposium is that, betting on racing is not a necessary evil, right? At times you feel like there's a bit of an industry approach to it. So, guys like Dave O'Rourke that are paying attention to these things and helping us get advance along the way. It's just, you can't ever fall short of recognizing how important that is.
Unbelievable. Nicely done. Nicely presented, Nick. I appreciate it. And I still want to get to
John, we appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. I do want to get to Hegarty next week because Hegarty.
Well, he'll have, well, Matt and I had a good conversation. Matt obviously did a tremendous job covering it. And, Matt was all over it from every angle, which he's the absolute
Always
best.
is. Yeah. And an Arizona native and somebody that, literally has covered all of the issues that, whatever the agenda is annually at Symposium. It's topics that Matt, has covered his entire career. And, one thing about the trades, and I know there's critique about the aggressiveness or the passiveness of the trade media around racing, but Matt Hegarty at the Forum, Frank Angst at Blood Horse, and Dan Ross and TD Thornton at and Bill Finley too at TDN. If you read carefully, they're looking at the topics and providing a critical eye that it might not be, they might not be taking brickbats to certain parties, but they're also not simply cheerleading. And actually, I'm being unfair to what Ray Pollock has done over the years with his operation, and now Chelsea Hackbarth taking over the mantle of the hard news coverage. So there's coverage out there, and there are people looking critically at the topics. But Matt is the engine on the train as far as I'm concerned when it comes to that. So we will get a Hegarty perspective before we close the book on 2025 overall and the Symposium. Nick, let's turn to action. And I ran down the first two cross countries today and tomorrow as Oaklawn kicks off. And for the people that don't care for turf racing, have we got a meet for you?
Yeah, if you're a non-turf or synthetic lover, then Oaklawn's your place, and they're getting very fortunate too. We've got a little bit of an Indian summer down in this part of the world, and it's I think going to be almost 60 degrees in Hot Springs, Arkansas today. So
how about that?
The December experience has worked out very well for them so far, and yeah, temperatures are is actually going to be 60 degrees. That's amazing.
Are they opening the infield?
5, in fact. Yeah, no, it'll be. Well, it's also supposed to be 34 on Sunday. So,
ooh, wait a minute.
Easy. Yeah, a little taste of what life can be like here. There's a big cold front coming through, but yeah, it can be a real roller coaster this time of year. So that Sunday card, actually, with a low of 20, is probably in some amount of jeopardy. But at least the ground will be a little warm before all that takes place. But no, the racing's incredible. Just big field after big field, and probably a little. I think the racing office even would admit the racing's a little bit on the cheaper side to get started, but you got to go with what you have, and I think big fields are obviously their hope, and they certainly have plenty of those. So the first two stakes came up very nice, and we'll set them up for their program is very progressive in terms of divisions being established and horses starting early and then working their way through it. So both the Advent and the Ring the Bell look like pretty good races to get started.
How do you want to just do the Saturday cross country?
Yeah, we can do Saturday cross country. There's a couple at Aqueduct and 3 at Oaklawn. I'll just touch on some of the horses I would probably highlight more than others along the way. Might put up a few thoughts on social media or on In the Money Media. But the 8th at Aqueduct, just look at these two first. Chad's going to have a pretty big favorite with Collect the Data. There's also going to be plenty of support for Save Us Melania on the inside as she comes back from the layoff. And she actually got involved in that really strong pace on opening day, on the opener, I should say, on Belmont Day. And Maggie's Palace came from Schenectady to win that race. And Save Us Melania really didn't run that bad. And she ended up 4th, beaten 6th. Was behind Roswell, who came back and won a one other, then over Senza Paroli a little bit later in the summer. And Willow Bend was a winner of her next start. So I think Save Us Melania is dangerous. I don't really love the rail for her. She's won from the rail at a mile before, so I guess she can work out a trip. But she probably wants to be a little bit more of an outside chasing type. I like Philly Freedom. And I thought Philly Freedom was a good horse going into her second start. She ran better. She didn't really take the step forward I kind of hoped she would, but she did run really well when she broke her maiden, I thought. And Chad really, he put a test to her right away. He put her in the Mother Goose, and, ultimately that proved to be too tough. But you got to love the spot here, Steve. Third off the layoff, back on Lasix, really in a position where I think she can sit just off the pace like she did in that win back on October 3rd. So I think she's interesting in there, and she's probably going to be the third choice. That's what she is on David Aragona's morning line, and David is right the overwhelming majority of the time. So I'd probably give Philly Freedom a little bit of maybe an extra look and maybe an extra ticket or two, but I do think ultimately one of the three favorites will probably get the job done there. The ninth is a big field of New York breds going a mile on the, going 7/8 on the main track. And Clearwater Beach cutting back to 7, I think is really interesting. I like this horse. She was badly pace compromised last time out at 7-1, put in a little bit of a run to round out the super. That was her first dirt start, and she didn't have much of an issue with it. And the fact that Mike Maselli obviously was planning on this, he took over the training of this filly from Nick Nozawenko, who still owns her. And the goal, I'm guessing, was to run her on the dirt. And I don't think she did anything to prove that she can't handle the dirt. She just didn't get much of an opportunity to really make a legitimate run from off the pace. So even though it's a big field, I wish there was a little bit more speed in here. I kind of would want them to burn in order to set her up a little bit, but I don't know if they will. Pace-wise, the interesting horse is Princess Becca, the 5, who's now second off the layoff from Michelle Giangiulio. And this horse got involved in a really strong pace last out. Michelle's had no luck this year whatsoever. And ultimately, something's going to go right for her, hopefully before the end of the year. So she's a deserving favorite, but I would definitely focus my attention on Clearwater Beach there.
All right.
The Oaklawn portion of it is the 6th, 7th, and 8th. And the 6th is a big field of 30 conditioned claimers. And as you would expect at Oaklawn, you've got horses coming from basically every walk of life, so to speak. Excuse me, there is no condition on this, actually, which is why Payne is allowed into it. He's 3-1 on the rail, a 7-time Oaklawn winner, off the pace type. He was hurt by the pace last out, but Pinfire that won that race and Alternate Reality are way better than anything in here. So Eric Foster is obviously dropping him in an effort to get the win, and he's probably about 2 to 5 to get claimed, even at 10 years old. I think he's going to get claimed out of here. He's a horse that can run multiple times at Oaklawn throughout the meet. I thought the 2 at the morning line price of 15-1, I don't really think this horse is going to be 15-1, but I thought Tahoe Sunrise was interesting. Norm last ran this horse in late August in a 50 claimer, and he was in for the waivers. He was coming back from a layoff, and he got involved in a really strong pace that completely fell apart. And that was a race that didn't look like it had that much speed on paper, and then they absolutely flew. And that took a toll on Tahoe Sunrise, who I think will run better in here. He's probably better when he can sit a little bit off of it. Santana's obviously down after flirting with the idea of riding in New York in the winter and realizing that Flavina is going to be 40%. It's probably a better idea to go out of town. So he's down there, obviously a multiple Oaklawn leading rider over the years. So you'll get a good trip from down there, I would think, from just off the pace. There's a few others that are interesting that are going to be prices. WW Scout's Honor will likely be close to favoritism. He is coming back from a long layoff for Scott Becker, but veteran Illinois bred that's run well at Oaklawn in the past, got good speed. He should be in the mix. And Lundberg on the outside for Armando Hernandez is a horse that's run well at Oaklawn as well. So I do think Oaklawn form is important. I wouldn't get too married to the idea that you have to bet horses that have run well at Oaklawn, but I would keep at least one eye on it. The 7th is a race where Our Magical Moon is likely going to be a really strong favorite. And, I don't know if you asked the connections prior to his last, I know he got bumped coming out of the gate. I don't know if Mark would have wanted this horse that far off the pace. And there was a little bit of a rail bias that day. It wasn't huge, but it was advantageous late in the card to be towards the inside. And Our Magical Moon kind of chased outside. He's stretching out here. He should win. I don't know if you want to completely marry yourself to him. I think the alternatives include the 5 Owie for Chris Davis, who, yes, debuted in a maiden claimer, but this is not one of the tougher maiden specials you're going to find at Oaklawn this meet. And this horse made a big middle move in a fast-paced race before he flattened out. I'd also think about using the 8 Mean Stepper for Ferran Moquette and Lucella. Lost all chance at the start of a pretty live debut race, and should probably get better with a little bit of experience. I also think that the 9 Bourbon Coma for John Ortiz can do better. Great name. A horse that was really disadvantaged at the start and ended up really doing no running, but likely benefits from having that run behind them. And, quite honestly, Steve, I'd rather have those kind of horses than a horse like Into Battle, who Brad debuted for 150 and is probably going to be 4-1 in here and has to deal with a trip from the outside. So I would take those that are going to be maybe a little bit better price. And then, the question of the day on this card is, are we getting the Oaklawn Skelly? Because if we get the Oaklawn Skelly in the Ring the Bell, then everybody's screwed. They have no chance because he is outrageously good at Oaklawn and very ordinary everywhere else. 10 for 12 lifetime. It's unbelievable. He has registered buyer speed figures of over 100 in, I thought I wrote the number down. I think it's 7 straight races at Oaklawn. And I have never seen a horse be that much of a horse for course. So he clearly needed a little time after his last. Nothing went right once he left Oaklawn last year, and he won't be 5-2. He's going to be the favorite, and we'll see if he can get back to it. Roll On Big Joe looks like the biggest threat, but he's a horse that's probably hurt by how fast Skelly is, and I can't wait to see him see if he's the same, because when he's on his game at Oaklawn, he is invincible.
You mentioned Roll On Big Joe, and obviously going to contend for favoritism. He'll have to stalk, but I think he's had a terrific year, very quietly for Bob Hess. 5 wins, he's made $500,000, and really, other than the Louisville Thoroughbred Society, where Ben Tornado just absolutely ripped their heads off.
Walloped everyone. Right.
Exactly. And the Bing Crosby, he didn't, he was 5th beaten 5. He wasn't humiliated in the Crosby. I mean, he's had a terrific season, and he's always about 9-2, typically.
Yeah. I wonder actually if Bob Hess might run in the Turfway. I see he's cross-entered the Turfway, but I suppose that's possible. That's a bigger person.
And he is at the training center, so he would have had to.
So there's probably a
down.
decent chance of it. Yeah, obviously, if that's the case, then Kelly's going to be an overwhelming favorite. But yeah, no, Roll On Big Joe was good in the Kelly's Landing. He was very good last out. The Kelly's Landing is actually probably a better effort, even though his buyer is lower. Number one, because he beat Dr. Venkman that day. Number two, he got away with a really soft pace last time. I mean, they really crawled early, and he just sprinted home. So, he's one of those quintessential horses. If he underperforms tomorrow, whether if it's at Oaklawn, if it's a Turfway, you can attribute it to the synthetic. But if it's at Oaklawn, people are going to say, "Oh, he bounced." Well, no, he didn't bounce. He just didn't get that perfect stalking trip on a slow pace that he got the time before. And each race is an individual event. So it'll be interesting to see where Hess ends up going with him. Again, if he ends up at Turfway, then he'll obviously be a factor there too, because he's run well on the synthetic in just one opportunity.
Well, I'm going to reach out to Bob and see if we got an answer. And meanwhile, I address. It's another season of Davy in Hot Springs, Davy Jacobson, back down to Hot Springs, and there's Banishing, and there's Durante, who's going to be, flirting with, I don't know, at least the 8-1. And that race that he ran in the Phoenix to Nakatomi, he runs that can win this race.
Yeah, for sure. One of my poorer prognostications in my life was I was annoyed after Durante won, I think a one other then or a starter allowance at Saratoga in 23, and I needed the horse who was second for a double to win the contest, and I put on Twitter that Durante would be in for 12-5 by the winter, and that was not a good prediction because he's been pretty damn good for 2.5 years since then. So yeah, I don't. Like you and everybody else who bets on horse racing, I have no idea when to like David Jacobson. There are a lot of people who are tough, right? Linda's tough, Wesley Ward's tough. Jacobson is a completely different animal. He is impossible to figure out. Excuse me. So, yeah, I mean, Banishing, who was a good horse with Brendan Walsh, And then I bet him in the only poor race that he ran, where he didn't even finish in his first start for Jacobson. And then he rattled off like 8 good performances in a row, right? So I've never been right on him. And clearly he was a bad fit for the Breeders' Cup Sprint, but he's a much better fit for a race like this. So, you know, is it going to shock me if he comes charging down the center of the track with Luis and grabs a portion of this? Not in the least, right? He got really good at Oaklawn last year and went from winning an allowance race in December all the way to nearly winning the Oaklawn handicap. So I wonder, Jacobson does have a little old school element to him. Steve, I wonder if he's using this maybe as a tightener to get him ready to go longer. But, you know, arguably outside of the Oaklawn races, the best race he ran all year was in the Churchill Downs at 7/8. And, you know, there's an argument for 5 different horses eventually winning that race. But, you know, if he doesn't have to dive down to the inside and kind of make a few what can be difficult moves in the stretch, he could have won. So yeah, he's a fun horse, and hopefully he'll bounce back a little bit. But I imagine that Banishing he'll be in a good position before the end of the meet at some point.
Well, always in good position with analysis from NTAM 1215, and I hope everybody has got their cards in the mail. 72 hours away from the most widely known birthday in all of racing. 12/15, NTAM 1215. I'm sure I will talk to you before your birthday and on your birthday, but happy birthday.
I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you very much. 42 and counting, and I'm reminded of that by my 6-year-old regularly.
Oh, so I guess you no longer. I didn't realize. I actually didn't realize. I think of you, as eternally, âge de Christ, as they say, 33. But so I guess
you
now
can keep it right there. That's fine. Yeah. I mean, I'm one of those people that's always looked older than I am, and I mean, I looked like I was 21 at 17. So yeah, I never got carded, and one of those Italian kids. So I was shaving as a freshman in high school. But yeah, no. So it's 42 is the number, and it's none the wiser.
So I guess you can't be part of those 40 under 40 lists anymore.
Luckily, I evaded them while I actually was. So perhaps somebody will inquire about it now, right? It would be perfect time for it to happen. So yeah, no 40 under 40 for me, and it's a shame. I mean, all of my closest racing friends are moving the same direction. Travis Stone is actually a month younger than me, so he'll be 42 in January. And yeah, we're not spring chickens anymore. It's funny. I told Mark Midland from Horse Racing Nation was walking around the symposium a lot, dealing with people. I think he was on a panel on Monday. He was actually helped Hammer on his panel. And most people don't realize Mark has made his career in racing and obviously has done some great work at Horse Racing Nation. But Mark's claim to fame is Mark hired Travis at Louisiana Downs with a grand total of 2 live race calls worth of experience. And that was a big leap for what at the time. I mean, and I hope that Louisiana Downs certainly gets back to its level of prominence, but that was a pretty prominent signal at that point. That was a $2 million a day signal. So yeah, he hired Travis with just two live race calls worth of experience in 2006. That's when they analyze draft picks, that's a pretty good draft pick. Well done. I tell Mark all the time, nobody will ever realize that is one of those people want to scoff at people who make bold decisions, make speculative decisions in any aspect of life. That was a gamble that absolutely paid off.
Unbelievable. I did not know that, actually. Very cool. Nick, this was fabulous, and it's been a fun week with you.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you next week.
You got it. Nick Tamaro, folks, and covered a lot of ground. Waiting in the wings with more opinions. Brisnet's own James Scully. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Here in Lexington, Kentucky, we got about 3 inches of snow overnight.
Ooh.
Getting ready for the cold this weekend.
Well, the action at Turfway. We talked with KK yesterday because he was boots on the ground, as my man Seth Merrow famously coins. And this synthetic card should be a lot of fun. Those just those 4 races, even as a standalone. But then the maidens and the allowances we talked about yesterday. It's a terrific card. Before we dive in and get some opinions, and I know you looked at I think the Gulfstream Stakes too. Let's hit the platform and see what Twin Spires players can look forward to the next 72 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got this wind ladder, $5,000 wind ladder, and we're taking it around, I believe, from track to track every Saturday. It'll be at Turfway Park on Saturday. You'll get we're just going to give away free money, $5,000 to everybody that opts in and cashes $10, your first $10 single horse win wager. You'll get the winnings for the being correct, and then we'll be giving out money towards everybody. And the more you cash, the bigger a share you'll get. So that's always one of our most popular promotions. But we've got lots of different. We've got odds win boost at Turfway as well every Thursday, and we've got a good every weekend the rest of the month. We've got a good exacta hit it and split it promotion every Thursday. Got promos for other tracks as well. So check out our offers page and make sure you opt in. And then our tournaments page, we've revamped that on the website. Really clean layout of all the events we've got coming up. We've got daily challenge events going for Oaklawn and Turfway this weekend. And our big event this weekend on the tournament front is going to be the synthetic betting championship on Saturday. It's a $1,500 contest. We'll give away seats to the National Handicapping Contest and the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge next spring. And we'll have feeder for that event and any big events we've got coming up on the weekends to come. So make sure you go to the tournaments page at Twin Spires and you can get the details and the schedule of all the events we got going on.
Let me add in, you talked about the wind ladder tomorrow at Turfway. Last night there was one of the Thursday in December 2 for 2,000 exacta hit it and split it, but 2 other specific offers that are germane to the weekend here at Los Al. Opt in for a 15% odds boost up to $25 on a single win wager. That's every day, actually. So today, tomorrow, and Sunday, as Los Al's second week comes to a close. And at Oaklawn, starting tomorrow, 15% across the board boosts on win, place, or show, individual win, place, show, or combos, win, place, or across the board. That's why it's called the across the board boost. And that is every Sunday in December. So you get 3 cracks at this at Oaklawn. Just opt into everything and cover yourself. But go to the offers when you open your page right across the top. Hit the offers, hit current offers, and make sure you're aware, because literally the money, they're giving away money. It's
even on the interface. Even on the interface, if you're looking at a race on one of those days at Oaklawn and you haven't opted in, there's going to be a little icon that pops up and lets you know, hey, we've got a promo going that includes this page, and opt in, because it's whether it's that. I really appreciate on Monday morning going in and looking at my account, seeing I got a boost tickets in the weekend, and so got a lot of different offers going on, and just make sure you opt in at twinspires.com.
There we go. All right, let's talk some action, and I imagine Turfway your first first interest.
Turfway. Yeah, right. We do have these Arctic conditions coming until overnight tomorrow, after midnight. So as long as they don't get too much snow, because there's snow coming too, should get it in. And like you said, I'm sure KK went over it. It's a great card. All the maiden got 3 triple, $100,000 maiden special weights and 3 allowances that are worth more than $100,000, as well as the 4 stakes. One thing about Turfway, I thought on tomorrow's card, the Synthetic Betting Championship program, you're going to see some Woodbine shippers. And there has not been a Woodbine shipper so far at Turfway. In fact, last night, there were 3 shippers from Horseshoe, Indianapolis that won. There were 3 horses that had run their last race at Laurel that won.
Yep.
2 horses from Prescott Downs. And then obviously the Kentucky is going to produce a lot of runners during the meet. So that's just one thing to keep an eye on. Over the last 3 years, these Woodbine shippers have a losing pretty big negative ROI and about a 10% win rate. So they can be really popular for bettors, but sometimes they can be vulnerable. Saturday's card kicks off with the maiden special weight. The third choice on the morning line is number 7 Game Day. For Eric Reed, he's 7-2 on the morning line. But Walter Rodriguez is absolutely killing it over these first couple weeks at Turfway. He's got 12 wins, twice as many as anybody else, I believe, and has won multiple races the last 2 nights. So this Game Day is by game winner. He's run 4 times on dirt. His 2 best races both came at 6 furlongs. He ran second first time out and maiden special weight at Churchill, and then 4th in a pretty good maiden special weight on September 27th. His other 2 races, 7 furlongs, mile and 40 yards. He didn't run as well. But the thing about him is he's going to appreciate, I believe, this switch to synthetics. This damn Curry cat has thrown multiple offspring that have won on synthetics. She has multiple winners on turf. The one thing she really doesn't do is throw dirt horses. And I think, this Game Day is really had trained well before those last 2 starts. I thought that recency will help him, and I look for him to prove best in the opener.
You mentioned Rodriguez. That gives me a window to mention from last night. You had that 5th and 6th race double that Walter booted home, and that included the push of, I didn't get a chance last night because I was out to dinner, and Best Girl Magic, right? That KK had delivered to everybody, 11-20. And then, if that wasn't enough, he comes back and caps a $90 double with an 8-1 shot that came from literally from off the screen. Mautica for Colby Williams at 8-1. So an $18.78. So Rodriguez, he's clicking, I think, at close to 40%. He's 35 or some nutty win percentage. And you mentioned how
that
cold
was a good
it is.
ride. Yeah, and even in that finale, I was sort of rooting for that 7, had a huge lead in the stretch because that was one of 5 horses in that finale that we're going to carry over the pick 5. But,
the pick 5 carry potential.
It was one. That wasn't Rodriguez, though. That was the finale. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking different race. No,
but as it happens, we should note, I think that's the first bug win of the meet. This Meeks 10-pound bug got that one home for Bob Leaf, and you wanted a prediction about the weather, James. Punxsutawney Phil, wire to wire. It's going to be cold. It's going to be dark. And it's going to last the rest of your life. Punxsutawney Phil from the little hamlet in western Pennsylvania, giving everybody a preview of our usual nuttiness on Groundhog Day, my favorite holiday.
Yeah, I was about to say that's about your favorite holiday.
I love the film, and it's my favorite. By the way, the news. You come here for your news. It's been a news-breaking week, including Dave O'Rourke and nutty Lonnie Powell. Bob Hess is telling me Roland Big Joe will run at Oaklawn.
Wow.
Oaklawn, not at Turfway.
That takes some speed out of that field. I might be vulnerable in the holiday cheer because you can look at his record and he's 1 for 1 on synthetics, but that was a really soft field of entry level allowance for border breds. He beat a short field by a neck, and so it was way earlier in his career. And yeah, I mean, I'll get to that race later, but I thought he would run at Turfway, like you know, he's based here, you know, he's training here at the training center, and yeah, that's a pace factor in that race. Looking at race 2 on, I talked about how these Horseshoe Indianapolis, we've seen a bunch of horses run well from there this meet, and number 5, Bo Zaka, 15-1 shot with Joe Ramos, who's he's also, I mean, he's got like 6 or 7 wins this meet. He's riding great. Munning's good sire on synthetics, and this dam. This is the first full Bo Zaka is, and you can see Walden ran her first time out on turf, and she ran an okay 5th on yielding ground at Horseshoe Indy, and they came back and broke her maiden wire to wire 5.5 furlongs convincingly last time. She's a dam. She's a sibling to the dam of Money for Roe, who won the Woodbine Oaks and a bunch of stakes on synthetics. And Money for Roe's by Money. This Bo Zaka is by Money. So just bred to be a good one on synthetics. And like I said, these Horseshoe Indy horses are running well. Being trained by Will Walden, I'm not expecting 15-1, but I give this Bo Zaka a shot to run a big race on the front end in race 2.
Very nice. Bo Zaka, the 5 in the second.
Yeah. And then looking ahead to the, let me see, I think going ahead to the stakes races, race number, hold on a second. I got one other I was going to mention. Race 4 is the main special weight. This race is going to have a big favorite in Beach Ballard. I'll tell you, this filly obviously has got some decent efforts on turf, but you know, I wasn't too keen on her main race at Keeneland 2 starts back. I like this Mother Green for Riley Mott, 6-1, the 4-horse in race 4. I love her potential for a favorable trip on the front end. You know, her first start, she ran on dirt at Churchill, a nice race at Barracaca, came right back to win next out, then ran in the Goldenrod. And Mother Green came back last time on the turf at Churchill, 17-1. And really ran a big race. You know, these Charlatan seems like he's doing okay with turf, synthetic pipes, and I think this Mother Green, like I said, a potential for a really good trip on the front end.
All right.
Yeah, this Vincent Chabanad too, 4 for 17 at Turfway. He's been running some winners.
All right. I actually have not looked at this race much.
Then I'm gonna, you know, obviously race 6 got a big favorite, Caitlin or Greatness. I'll probably just watch that. You know, I might mess around some multis in that field. But I thought in race number 7, I'm gonna take on the 2 morning line favorites, L&J and Pondering in here, and I like number 9, Nicest Pie, for Kelsey Danner. And this is a 4-year-old filly that just an absolute horse for the course at Turfway, 5 for 9 at Turfway with 2 seconds. And Kelsey brought her back 3 starts back from a little bit. You know, I thought she started to turn things around 3 starts back, where she ran 4th in an allowance race at Kentucky Downs. The runner-up in that race, Time to Dazzle, finished about a length in front of her. Came back and won the Grade 2 Franklin Stakes at Keeneland by open lengths. And then in her next start, she ran into Candy Ride in the HBPA at Presque Downs, going 1 mile and 70 yards. That Candy Reward is 5 for 6 this year. She led wire to wire at even money. Real nice filly there at Presque Downs. And then even last time, Nice Pies in against oversubscribed, who's 1 for 2, who was 1-2 odds for Chad Brown in there. So she's last 2 races are both at a route. She's going to relish this cut back to that sprint, and I think her last few races will really set her up for a top showing. So I'm going to go to the outside in the holiday inaugural number 9, Nicest Pie.
Well, and we love Dee McGahee and Kelsey Danner. Although Kelsey off to a little bit of a sluggish start at the meet, she's hitting boards, but she's looking for her first tally, and she'll get her share for sure.
Yeah, I think so. And then in race 8, I am going to mention a Woodbine horse, but it's just because he ran well at Turfway last year. I like number 5, Dresden Road in the Prairie Bayou, 4-1. I like the fact that his regular rider Ryan Munger's in here. He won't drop him far back like he was. I mean, he ran a big second last year in this Prairie Bayou. And just had a tough trip. He really was too far back. And then when he had to rally, he had to cut through traffic down along the inside and wait momentarily. And I think he's coming back to Turfway this year in just terrific form off a sharp win in the autumn at Woodbine. And I think he'll get it done. He'll make amends for a close second last year. So I'm going with Dresden Road, the 5 horse in the Prairie Bayou.
Dresden Rome. And it's funny. Lauren Richards, of course, from Toronto, and he has not. Has he won? He has won this year. Yeah, he won the autumn, but he rarely misfires. He's a horse that he's never missed the board in his career.
Yeah, and I like his potential for a good trip. I mean, up close. I mean, I'd love to see him sitting 3rd or 4th. That's the sort of the catbird spot for him. It's a big, bulky field, and if he can get out there tactically, I think he'll be set for a good effort.
This is a nice field. This is a really nice group.
Absolutely.
The whole sequence is great.
Encino's a real wild card in there.
Yeah.
I'm just not confident that he's going to deliver his best effort, but I'll let him beat me at short odds.
All right. And now the Holiday Cheer.
And now in the Holiday Cheer, this race lost some pace, obviously, with Roll On Big Joe going to Oaklawn for the the Ring the Bell Stakes. But I like number 2, Run Carson. He ran second in this event last year. I thought that, he's poised for a good trip from down on the inside, where the other speed really in this race is drawn towards the far outside. And, he's coming back from a freshening in this spot, but just training very sensationally, I thought. And Adam Biscuits, he won 2 races on Wednesday, including one for Joe Sharp. He's riding well at Turfway Park. I just look for a favorable front end trip from Run Carson in the Holiday Cheer.
I don't have the line in front of me. What is he?
10-1.
Jeez.
He won't be 10-1 with Roll On Big Joe dropping out and running second. Yeah, in this race last year. But that's another good field in there for sure. We got it's going to be some good racing.
It's a good sequence.
Yeah, great sequence.
Really good sequence.
Gulfstream Park's got 2 turf stakes. Got the Gulfstream Tropical Park Oaks. That race has a big favorite in there, Justino D'Oro. I definitely respect her. Won't be facing anywhere near the caliber of rivals she's been facing her last couple, but she has run sort of poorly. Horse I gave a look to in there is right to her outside, number 5, Mischief in Motion. I just like the way she showed improved speed in her last 2. She's closely related to Kafefi, and they gave Mischief in Motion every chance on dirt. But there's a lot of classy female runners in that female family too, and definitely she's better on the grass. I think she's coming on, and she really pushed a hot pace last time. Maybe a little bit better trip on the front end on Saturday. So I got it 5-4, but I'll turn it around too in an exacta if the price is okay.
I'm glad you like Mischief in Motion. I hinted at her yesterday when I said that we'd have Welsh and we're going to look at this. I thought that she had a look, and at 10-1, that's a nice number. Now the interesting thing, as it happens, Trumbetta's got Mrs. Weber's other horse, that Super Willowall, the hard spun, and she's also double digits. She's 12-1, and has a bit of the same style to her. And then Cassie's got the 3rd Live Oak runner in here, and one more time. So and super speed on the outside for Lynch with Junior Alvarado, Ramsey Pond, Safi 12-1. This is a really fun, both of these, both the Oaks and the Tropical Park Derby, which I assume you've got to play for as well.
Yeah, I do. And that's a race where I thought last time out, I like the number 10 Candy Town. I mean, he's 8-1 on the morning line. I don't think he'll be that high. I mean, he was a favorite in that showing up last time. Steve, I just like, this is a horse that broke his maiden last April pretty nicely on Gulfstream Park turf, and then got a bunch of time off. And, you look at that second start back, that allowance, he ran okay, decent field, the Giovanni to be fourth. And last time out, he's making a move on the inside, on the far turn, when a rival that was up on the front end just backs up dramatically right into him. And Zayas had to sort of angle him around him. And at that point, he just basically made the decision to go from fifth to next to last and swing 8 wide. And he was just rolling late. I mean, he would have gotten up the win if that race had been another 10, 15 yards. Just a terrible trip last time. And I'm going to look for a better trip, better result for Candy Town in the Tropical Park Derby.
Huh. And I'm just looking back at this for a second. Tiz Dashing for Barkley and Church and State actually could be circling back. You've got Layabout. This
that Layabout. I mean, you talk about a horse. He was about to plunge into cheap maiden claimant races. He lost his first 3 starts by 85 lengths on dirt, and got transferred to be a cone. And you talk about making the right decisions, getting this gelding on grass immediately. That was a little bit of a poor time move too, you could argue, last time from him. So it's interesting because Mott has this simulated in here who's, he ran second in a grade 2 stake with Alvarado, but he's on layabouts. He seemingly likes that horse, and he's definitely intriguing too.
2 terrific late season 3-year-old turf opportunities at Hallandale. There it is. Nice. James?
Yeah, I got a last second Friday push.
Nice.
Race 6 at Aqueduct today. Number 2, best impression. He's 6-1 morning line. Listen, just got away slowly last time, Steve, and never fired. Excuse me. But I like their effort at this level 2 back, and I think, repeat of that performance probably be good enough to win. So I'm going to look for a better performance today for number 2, best impression of race 6 at Aqueduct.
Well, and that's a helpful. Actually, is that no? The 7th and the 8th are the 7th and the 8th are in the cross country, not the 6th. Tomorrow, the 6th. The 8th and 9th
today. That's today. Yeah. So yeah.
No, I know, but I.
Oh yeah, tomorrow. That's right.
It doesn't matter. No, they're the 8th and the 9th, both days at Aqueduct for the cross country.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
So,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, it's a fun weekend, but this Turfway's got this big card, and I'm excited to see Oaklawn get underway. They're busting at the seams as well in terms of field size. So I like these winter tracks. They can be a lot of fun.
James Scully, everybody. James _Scully 111, but most typically seen and heard from during Twin Spires analysis, the jury, and more. James, good luck this weekend. We'll talk to you from Remington next Friday.
All righty. Thanks, Steve. Good luck to you.
James Scully, everybody. And again, reiterating, get those tied on to the opt-ins at Twin Spires. Twin Spires weekend preview will continue. We're going to take the break because I got to go to Hammer. I got to get the Hammer, because as I said at the top of the show, everybody needed to be at 10:30 or later this morning for whatever reason. It just was weird. So Hammer, and he's driving to Santa Anita. So we're going to take the break here and then come back. Hammer, Tony Kalo, Steve Anderson. I don't know how I'm going to pull this off. Steve Anderson, Kevin Kilroy, Mike Welsh, Craig Dato, Rich Ang. It's the very strange first half with 2, and then second half with 7. So I think this was our only option. Speaking of options, let me slip this in. I clearly about 1,000 of you already over the last 48 hours realized that we got the iTunes platform back in the rotation. Boy, that's something you don't see all that often. A baby, I don't think I've ever seen a baby pigeon. Literally, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. A baby pigeon just landed up on the announcer's parapet here. Maybe it was you know what? It might have been all mourning dove, but it was caught my eye because I'm so easily distracted. But we're very. This has been 2 months of just torture trying to deal with iTunes. It's just craziness. And good job by Brian and also our guys at John and Tom at Gapman. Part of it had to do with Casey and with the account, that he has, and then accessing that to fix the RSS feed. I'm the wrong guy for this. The technical challenges, but back on iTunes for those of you that were missing it. But you got, we're on all the other over the last year. We added Spotify and 2 or 3 others. I'm not. I other than Mark Maron, I'm not a big, not a big user of the those platforms. But I know a lot of you are. So want to did all we can. Let's take the break. We'll come right back. Hammer's ready. That's the good news. Second half from Los Al, Twin Spires weekend preview.
It's At the Races with Steve Byk on Sirius XM Radio.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Naira Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions and offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with Naira Bets. $200 deposit match with promo Steve200. Visit NairaBets.com for details.
Horses power Virginia's economy, creating over 38,000 good, fulfilling jobs every year. Think about the farmers, the farriers, the feeders, the athletes, trainers, drivers, and jockeys, caretakers and landscapers, investors and interns, veterinarians, restaurant owners, restaurant workers, tour guides, trail guides, equine therapists, and so many more. Now that's horsepower. Virginia's economy wins with horses.
The Pennsylvania breeding program is the best program in the country. The stallion awards, the owner bonuses, also the restricted races and the stakes races for Pennsylvania breds. This year, 8 breeders are on track to earn over $200,000 in breeders awards, and 2 could hit the $1 million mark. We have the best program in the country. Take advantage of the fantastic program that we have. Learn more at pabred.com.
Nothing compares to a horse. They inspire greatness, command respect. Because Virginia's horse industry isn't just racing and farming. It's built on the skills, labors, and passions of dedicated people working in every industry throughout our state. Horses fuel the economy, create jobs, support thousands of families, and even make dreams come true. Virginia's economy wins with horses. Find out more at virginiahorseracing.com.
Now, back to At the Races with Steve Byk on Sirius XM Radio.
You talk about Santa Claus, you want to know what it's all about. Santa Claus got drunk last night and everybody tried to throw him out. But I want to tell you, folks, how it all began. Santa stopped at a neighbor's house and started drinking good tea. Now, while I was with him, I named a few. I love to name some of them whiskeys that Santa was drinking to you. It was way back in the ancient age, down in Mid Springs Valley, where the crab tree grows. The old granddaddy bought a rocking chair for Mr. Boss. One day we're rocking in the mellow breeze. The rocking chair broke and threw him bottom up. He jumped up thinking about his old drum. He saddled his white horse, said he's going over to Johnny Walker. He swam the 3 rivers.
We're back.
There's the cabin still.
Clyde Lasley and the Cadillac Baby Specials, one of our absolute favorites. I've always loved songs that include lists of alcohol, of brands of liquor. Hammer has certainly sat in on no shortage of concerts and things that for those kinds of songs. Hammer, good morning.
Absolutely. Good morning. Well, guess what? I'm not in Tucson anymore. Those of us that live in the big city, you never know what you're going to hit out there on the road. And I got nailed this morning, boy. I'll tell you, just when you think you got that traffic measured, you got your little road marks. You got to be on this road by 6 o'clock and this one by 7. I did everything perfect this morning until I turned that one little corner, and I was sitting there for 42 minutes. I happen to know because I was talking on the phone to someone, and the unexpected stop. And the beautiful part was as I was watching in the rear view mirror, people on the other side, doing the U-turns, going against traffic, going off the on-ramps and whatever they had to do to get off the road. And I'm thinking to myself, that's usually me, but I'm just going to wait this one out. And then it seemed like they dropped the flag, and now everybody's flying down the road where you wouldn't be. So anyway, welcome back home. So we're here and ready to roll.
Nice. Well, quick what we experienced.
Yeah, we've done this many times, of course, and I think it was a little bit more, I don't want to say less friendly, but a little bit more poke the bear type of thing. I think some issues were raised. It wasn't just a feel good, oh, you're great. No, you're great. We had some questions asked and answered. The CAW was scratched a little bit more than in before. We could probably do a little bit more on that as the future, but we kind of started that. I like the timing group that finally get, it was raised that, why do we have all these different run-ups at places? And that's finally kind of reached a bubble up to the surface, and hopefully that conversation can continue and our timing of our races and can improve. And so a few other things got kicked around. I was happy to get a couple issues out with the jocks' weights that we'll follow up on. And as usual, leaving there, it's the follow-up. We can talk all we want, but let's see if we can get a few things done. And as always, our little perch at the end of the hallway, seeing a lot of people is the best part. People you may only see once or twice a year. And it is all about racing there. And that's one thing that is very cool. Seeing people from all over the country and literally all over the world. And, everyone's got one thing on their mind, trying to make racing better. So always a good trip there, and, perfect time of year. So like I said, it's all about the follow-ups. I enjoyed it this year.
Agreed. And I do bristle. I see the annual social media cacophony of, oh, nothing gets done. It's a waste of everybody's time. And it just, if that's what you think, actually come to it one year and you'll realize, oh, I was wrong. This is highly productive. And, it's hard for people to understand. I mean, I can't. What's funny, Hammer? It's not as if almost anybody that comments in that regard hasn't attended, an industry convention or gathering in whatever field they operate, or even right. I mean, it's just it's silly.
Because the topics and the rooms that are filled with people that. Well, I'm going in a tunnel here for about 5 seconds. Hold on. I'm driving to Santa Anita. But the room full of people, that's just the beginning. What takes place because of those meetings over in the corner, and having lunch with somebody that you don't know because you met him sitting next to him in one of the meetings. That's where the action happens. The little stuff, the little meetings that you take away from someone that you met, you might have learned something. So that's where all this networking and all that stuff comes into play. It's not necessarily what takes place in the big ballrooms. That's kind of that's the big lantern. Hey, let's go check out what's going on, and then break up from there and to have your own little discussions with your own little groups. That's where stuff happens. And that's why until you attend something like this, like you said, even in your own field, you'll get the same feeling. So, no, it's anytime you get like-minded people together and discussing things, hopefully, ideas trickle down through, and you might not see them or feel them, but they're there. So it's all good. But let's get this one thing going here that we're a little bit late on, and that's the calendars.
I'm getting 3 to 4 emails a day asking.
So am I, and I said, look, I would just want to wait and get into that. Today is the 12th, and so I'm coming over today to see if I do, but the calendars, I won't be able to pick the calendars up for a while because I'm leaving next week for Kentucky for the graded stakes, and I come back and then we go to South Carolina. So no one's going to get a calendar before Christmas. I just wanted to get that out there. We'll get them out, but I won't even start the process until I get back from South Carolina. So we'll try to get them by New Year's. But anyway, so here's the deal. We'll do the same thing as we always do. Santa Anita calendar at yahoo.com. Send in your information, and I'm for something very simple this year. This is something that you can't knock down. I want your top 3 sitcoms. That's all I want. Give me the list.
Came out of left field. You didn't run this by me. That's pretty. That's funny.
I didn't. I was going through some stuff, and I something came up a couple weeks ago, and I started writing them down. I go, you know what? Everybody's going to come up with that. And if you want to throw a fourth in there, that's a goofball from like a Get Smart or something like that. Throw that in there. But let's get your top 3 sitcoms. I'll add them up for fun, and we'll put a list out. But yeah, so just do that. Tell us that that a little story about the show and where you listen from and all that stuff, and send it to Santa Anita calendar at yahoo.com. And please remember to include your address. It's probably, I'm going to say about 5% people. It's great. They tell their story and then it's like, oh, forgot to put the address.
Exactly.
So we really appreciate you guys listening and, like I said, sending in and telling your little quips and all that stuff. So starting today, we'll open up the Yahoo email, Santa Anita calendar at yahoo.com. And we'll get as many out as we can. And like I said, please do not expect them before Christmas, but they will try to get them before the new year. But we've just had some, zigging and zagging, and we were going to do it last week, and then we forgot, and the week before. So anyway, it's officially open, and we're happy to do it. Although my daughter is usually home at this time, usually helps me out. So we'll be writing a few out, but that's fine. That's what we like to do. We appreciate you guys, all the listeners that write in. So we
nice.
got that.
Very good. And then we will name. We'll tally up the votes, and we will name At the Races all-time favorite sitcom.
Exactly. I don't know. Just like I said, it just went.
That's
boom,
so funny. That's very funny.
Right? And so but I try to get something that, I can't do that, or I don't have that photo, or this or that. Well, if you don't have 3 sitcoms, then you're not getting a calendar. How about that?
That's pretty funny.
And
right.
I'm sure right now things are popping to your head. You probably have about 6 of them in your head right now, and you're going, "Oh boy, how am I going to narrow that down?" I was thinking about doing 4, but let's make it hard and do 3.
No, the 3's plenty.
Yeah. So that's it. So yeah, just actually heading over to like I said, at Santa Anita now. I got to pick up the envelopes and the cards and start. I'll start addressing probably this weekend. But like I said, I can't get the calendars till next weekend. And thanks once again, obviously, to Santa Anita for providing the calendar, which one of the all-time great giveaways in racing history. That the timing works, and actually we're going to South Carolina to see Lindsay and flying home on Christmas Day, so we can got to make opening day, right? So
that's true.
We'll be here opening day for.
Well, we'll do some opening day conversation Monday and Tuesday from Clocker's Corner. I was over yesterday, and everything's set to go there as well. So Monday, Tuesday from Santa Anita.
Yeah, Tuesday I'm flying, so we'll see if I can get over there on Monday, but we'll talk for that. But the weather's great here, and you can't complain about that. That's for sure. I just got off the phone with someone in there at Lexington or Louisville. And I guess they got some snow, and we'll
cold.
see. I guess it's snowing on Turfway, right? Is what I understand. So hopefully they'll be able to get their cards.
A bit of a deep freeze too.
Yeah, I said 6 degrees, I think was mentioned. So, oh boy, but that's all. What do you got? We got the Long Acres or the Long Acres. What is it? Los Alamitos races this weekend. Typical, unfortunate, not unfortunate, but usual 3 Baffords and then another. And are you going to be out there for the races?
Yeah.
On Saturday? Yeah.
Of course.
Good. Well, I didn't know I don't know your traveling schedule. You get around. Did you have dinner at the Dalray last night?
We had a Dal sighting last night with Big Leo. We actually have to retire the Big Leo because there's less and less Leo. Every time we see him, he's down 140 pounds.
No way! I haven't seen Leo in a while.
Oh yeah, no, he's walking regularly. He's got these 5 grandchildren, and he wants to be healthy. And I applaud really because everybody rooting for Leo to be healthy. That's tremendous.
No, he's great. And,
he's unbelievable. One of a kind.
As I'm just making the left, and I have one of the girls at the gate here. Yoli collects stuff, so I collect stuff, clothes and stuff. So I have got a trunk full of clothes and hats and this and that she donates. Yeah, for the backside. I said, look, I'm not
very nice.
And it's funny. Every once in a while, I come, I go, hey, that used to be my jacket, or that used to be my jacket. But I counted them. She goes, how many? I have 42 hats that I'm donating. That's how many I'm donating. You don't know that of the.
I know this story. I know. I get it.
So I look at them and I go, I don't wear this one. So I got hats. I got jackets. I got stuff that is racetrack stuff. So I like to like I said, I'd rather give it to the guys back there and guys and girls back there and let them enjoy it rather than
nice, very nice.
Thing. So we're just pulling up here, and once again, that turn that I used to have when I was having a bad morning, and I'd turn and all of a sudden you get up to the stable again, you see this racetrack and there's beautiful mountains, and you just go,
Yep.
wow, it's not that bad.
No,
It's beautiful.
exactly.
I mean, this is just a beautiful place, and happy to get back here and get ready for opening day, which is what, 2 weeks away? Literally, 2 weeks
exactly
from
2
today
weeks.
is opening day.
2 weeks from today.
So a lot of the stakes closed this today. I saw the 12th, and hopefully, Malibu and American Oaks and La Brea, and we'll be doing that. But anyway, get the calendar thing going, and we'll talk next week.
We'll see you Monday.
Yeah, sounds good.
Rick Hammerly, everybody. Away they go. And Santa Anita calendar at yahoo.com. And your top 3 all-time favorite sitcoms. Kind of a wacky topic this year. Tony Kalo is going to join us next. And I want to get Tony. Tony's been on as extended a heater. I mean, unbelievable. The Churchill Spring and then the fall. But this is his season now, and no, not that the summer isn't either with Ellis, but Turfway, his addition to the Turfway signal, and essentially, the whole new the whole new Turfway program, essentially, with these purses, and as we talked yesterday with KK, the way they've put together this. This synthetic championship night, really an early winter treat. I mean, to have a King's Plate, you got a King's Plate winner running there tomorrow. It's unbelievable. Tony.
Steve.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
KK and I went through this a little yesterday, and Scully had some picks earlier, but I mean, this is some treat for you up in the crow's nest. $1 million over 4 stakes, and then nothing but maiden and allowances. It's it's a Derby week card basically.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea by Gary Palmisano last year implementing this. Why have one of these stakes races on the Saturdays during the holiday meet when we can put them all together on one day? I think the fans like these type of days. It allows for upper echelon horses to come to town. I mean, we've got Irad Ortiz and Flavian Pratt here at Turfway on a Saturday night in the cold. I bet they're like, geez, can't we move this calendar? Can't we move this a little bit back in the calendar? But great timing, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Big fields and very, very competitive races for the most part.
Tony, before we go through the sequence, early impressions so far. What what are you noting? It feels like horses, if they're good enough to wire, they wire. If they're good enough to come from the clouds, that's working too. It doesn't feel like there's any biases, and the winners are coming from all over the map, basically.
Yeah, talk about keeping a guy honest. How about the last week at Churchill? We had 58 races. I think I was on air from like 6 in the morning till 6 at night every day, and then you get thrown into this, huh, Steve? But yeah, no, they come from everywhere. Guys got to be on his toes, and like you said, I don't think there's any. There's no defined bias whatsoever. And even when you think you've got a beat on it, next thing you know, you got some 40 to 1 shot, and you're like, how did this guy win? That's Turfway Park. That's synthetic racing for you.
Well, let's get into some opinions. Do you want to?
I guess it's up to us then to figure out when the all button must be utilized, because there are races that are very formful, and if you can just narrow down those 2 or 3 formful races in any one of the sequences, and then if your bankroll allows chaos, then you can get rewarded.
100%, and that's an important distinction for all week, as we've talked about, and really since the start of the meet. I keep telling people, I mean, the biggest frustration for players in this era has been short fields and uncompetitive racing, and the unattractive sequences. Well, on almost a nightly basis, you're 12 by 12 by 12 by 12. if you can get a handle and wrap your head around, committing to, understanding the kinds of horses that succeed on the surface, you're going to enjoy this. As opposed to those that just say, I can't bet synthetic. Well, why don't you follow along for a couple of weeks? You don't even have to bet. Do a mythical bankroll and handicap and pretend. I tell people, this is my advice to people when they're when they're in a slump. Keep the money in your pocket for 10 days and handicap and mythical bet and keep track of your bankroll until all of a sudden you feel the pendulum swinging back in your direction. The same can be done here. Handicap, a week's worth of cards at Turfway and see if you can't get a handle on it, and then then apply your bankroll. So don't just dismiss.
That's great advice, and we all know horse racing is, we all love the game. That's why we devoted our lives to it. There's going to be a race here and there that no matter how hard you look at the horse's form, you can say to yourself, I don't think I could have got that horse. And you just have to accept it and move on. I mean, that's otherwise go find a football game to bet and take your 4 to
5. Tony, dive in. Do you want to go through the pick 4, the all-stake pick 4?
Yeah, let's talk about these races. They're good. They're good races. They're huge fields. Starting out in race 6 with the My Charmer. Nice race for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. They're all $250,000. All the money's going to be on 2, Caitlin Her Greatness. I think she deserves top billing. Would I single her? Probably not. Sometimes I question the Woodbine form. I don't necessarily question it as much with stakes races, and it's hard to get away from all of the G's that you see in her company lines. Grade 3s, grade 2s, grade 1s. I mean, she looks the goods. She's 5 for 16 with 4 seconds. She's coming out of a shorter race. She has an inside post where she should be forward, but not necessarily dictating. So I can't fault anyone who's going to fall in love with her, but I think we owe it to ourselves to go looking for some others. The gal who are outside, 3 literates coming out of a good race with Shred the Gnar. If nobody knows who Shred the Gnar is by now, then I don't know where you've been. Put her in your stable mail because she's going to be a major force, I think, in 2026 as a 4-year-old filly. This race is really competitive. Even the 7 Vina Arana caught my attention with a huge rally last time. And that was a first condition. If she wasn't coming back on 3 weeks, I'd love her in this spot. But, the 2 gals that I like are the 8 and the 9. Next Up, and She's Looking Lucky. And Next Up, I don't think gets a lot of credit. She's a little bit of a Rodney Dangerfield type of horse, doesn't get the respect she deserves. She hasn't done much wrong in her career, 6 out of 7 top 3 placings. She's already whistled over this racetrack on debut. Last time in the Valley View, even though she was nearly 70 to 1, 69 to 1, she's in contention at the 8th pole despite being stuck out in no gal's land throughout. Her races at Ellis were good against Hope Mission. She looked great beating Scatitude. I find her very intriguing, and she's 10 to 1, and you're going to get every bit of that. And she's looking lucky. So you got both the Machado brothers. She's looking lucky. The only knock I have on her is she doesn't win very often, 3 for 22. But I'll tell you what, Proctor Street would be my number 1 selection in this spot.
Sure.
And I'd be betting twice. I'd be betting as much as I could on her in this spot. And this girl only was a length behind her. I like the spacing. 8 and 9 are the 2 that I find very intriguing at big prices.
And I'll make one point on a pedigree side of things. You mentioned Matt Sims's Next Up by Accelerate, and Accelerate has got he's been a modest success at stud so far, but happens to be very solid on the synthetic. Is a son of Looking at Lucky, and of course She's Looking Lucky, the sire of the 5-year-old mare, and he wins 16% with his synthetic runners. And Next Up, Accelerate, as a son of Looking at Lucky, wins with 14% of his synthetic runners. So there is a nice parallel there, and Next Up, if you haven't noticed, broke the maiden right at Turfway. So there's a lot to I think you're onto something there. But Caitlin Her Greatness, clearly the horse to beat. There's no doubting that, and she really course, any chance I have to mention nailing her win in the plate, I can redboard that one the rest of my life. The holiday inaugural goes as the 7th.
All right, yeah, that's another great race. J is obviously better on turf and synthetic than she is on dirt. So
yeah,
her 3 poor performances in her career were all on dirt. So I'm not in love with her by any means, but I would definitely have to be using her. Pondering, I think, also is another one that is very intriguing for Brendan Walsh. She makes a lot of sense with her 3 consecutive graded races, including that grade 3 recently. And I like cutbacks on the synthetic. So definitely 2 and 3. The 4 Light Spirit, we haven't seen her in a long time, but she loves it here. She's never done anything wrong, and she's going to be a big price. The gal that I like, though, Steve, is the 7, Chivetta. I loved her on the 1st of November. I gave her out, I believe, as either my best bet or my long shot play of the day that particular day. Made a bunch of money with her. I think she's better in 1-turn races. She had a little stretch here in late 24, early 25, where she was going 2 turns. I think the fact that she's been freshened up with both of those 1-turn affairs, she ran big. If she had a better trip on the 5th of October, I think she would have been victorious. And I like the fact she got into the race last time as well. So I think that will bode well for her, going from 5.5 to 6. She could be forward 10-1. She's my number 1 pick.
I get it. Civetta makes plenty of sense, and I'm glad you brought up Light Spirit. Those races last winter, obviously, she gets back to that. She's she obviously has had a bit of a checkered season in terms of when Asmussen has been able to lead her over, but she's a contender. But I agree, Civetta coming off a career best last time at Churchill doing the turf sprint thing, and she moves over to the poly here. She's in it to mischief. They have no issue either with the synthetic.
She trains here year round,
yeah.
So even though she's never run on the synthetic and never, this is where she trains. She's going to fall under the radar. She's very sharp right now.
I like it. Both of your mentions gets us to a tremendous Prairie Bayou. This is some lineup.
What a race this is. I agree. I mean, Cameo Performance is a horse I've always liked. Thought he looked sensational in 2024. When he won at Ellis in early August of 2024, I was like, wow, this is a horse that's going to make some noise. Well, that tells you how good I can assess a horse's talent. He hasn't won since, Steve, but I think he's a pretty nice racehorse. With that being said, I thought Dresden Rowe, watching the replay, handled him pretty much with ease. I thought Dresden Rowe was finishing better than him. Be interesting to see how Cameo finishes up in this 1 mile race. I could see him being full of run with Irad, getting to save ground, get that coveted inside trip that I'm always searching for in 2-turn turf or synthetic races. Theismann's come into his own. Dresden Rowe was unfortunate he didn't win this race last year. He was probably better than Paros that particular day. He had a little trouble turning into the lane, stormed home like a good thing. He's been a little hit and miss so far in 2025, but he put it all together recently. What do you do with Quattrocento? And what do you do with Encino? I want people to go back and watch the replay of both of them on the River City. There are a couple of horses that I think are trying to learn how to rate. Quattrocento used to rate. Of late, he's been showing pace. Encino is a huge horse. I've been a big fan of Encino for quite some time. Ever since he won the Battaglia Memorial in the spring of 24, he was going to be my Kentucky Derby pick. He had outworked the stablemate leading up to the Derby, and then he got sick, and we didn't see him for quite some time. Everybody go watch the 8th of November, the River City, because Encino and Quattrocento were side by side, and they both were extremely rank, eager, pulling on their jocks. They wanted to go engage Wolfie's Dynaghost. I think the connections both wanted them to kind of sit chilly and make a run. Encino's got a tough post in post 12 in a 1 mile affair, but I think the post will be good for him, and the fact he's not going to be near Quattrocento. He's a synthetic horse. There's no question about it. His races last year over the track were awesome. His race at Presque Isle was awesome. I don't like the price of 3-1, but I'm a big fan of Encino. And I think he'll be able to utilize that outside post when other people think it's going to be a hindrance. He has enough speed He'll be able to settle into a fluid stride. He's such a massive individual. He's probably my number one pick.
I gotta move in. I gotta move a gate inside and ask you about our friend Glenn Wismer, who has done such a great job with Joe Novogratz's Surely Furious, bouncing back and forth between Turfway and Presque Isle, makes dirt starts. Really a wonderful horse, and Glenn Wismer, underappreciated horseman. He's got races and he certainly has got a nice record at Turfway. I think he comes in fresh. Last year, or not even last year, earlier last winter, in February, he came in kind of the same way and ran big in the Forgo behind Play Me a Tune, who was like a buzzsaw at that point. So I Surely Furious always gets my attention.
Well, he's got the right jockey, that's for sure. I mean, nobody knows how to ride this racetrack like Luan does. He's an absolute pro. I just love the way he can save horses' energy and finish up like a freight train. My concern, A, is the level of competition, Steve, and B, I really believe this horse is a better one-turn horse. I've always had that
That's
in
fair.
I've always felt that about him. I'll give him credit. He really surprised me when he won the Dust Commander, but it was on short rest and he was sharp as attack. But, I'd be more inclined to get him next time when he shortens up out of this race. But hey, at 20-1, I'm not going to talk you out of a horse who likes the racetrack.
I just respect him tremendously, and
Sure.
his presence in here. Glenn spots. Really has made a habit of spotting the horse well. That gets us back to the Holiday Cheer and Run Carson, the runner-up behind Howard Wolowitz. They line up shoulder to shoulder from last year. I confirmed earlier this morning with Bob S. that Roll On Big Joe is coming to town.
So he's coming to Turfway?
He is.
Yeah. Roll On Big Joe's a horse that he's pretty cool, that's for sure. I thought he looked sensational winning the Bet on Sunshine, and no disgrace when he tried to make a run after Ben Tornado at Churchill in September. I mean, good luck trying to beat that horse. That horse is just an absolute beast. I mean, he's like Marshawn Lynch on the racetrack. But Roll On Big Joe, 3-1. Last year I fell in love with Run Carson in this race. Run Carson's race on the 24th of November when Flavian rode him was absolutely incredible. I was like, wow, if this horse could start showing this new dimension, he's going to be another monster. Kind of sounds like what I was talking about earlier. I have a way of jinxing horses upside when I fall on their bandwagon. So I bet him, and I loved him against Howard Wolowitz on the 14th. In the same race last year, I bet him against Think Big 2 times in a row. Kind of watched him against Joe Shiesty. Knowing my luck, he's going to win at 10-1. I'm going to have a little bit on him, but I mean, how do we not go with Howard Wolowitz? His race last year was incredible. I remember walking away that night, driving home from the races, going, "Wow, Howard was a monster," and they took him to that next spot. Is that Saudi Arabia? I'm assuming
it is. It is.
Yes. So he didn't run much that particular day, but then he comes back and he runs into Bear River at Kentucky. Now Bear River got real sharp this summer. This horse won some races at Churchill and Ellis, and I actually gave him a puncher's chance in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, Bear River. So I'm not going to hold that against him. And last time going a mile is not his game. It's all about Howard Wolowitz for me. Roll On Big Joe, I've kind of got as a B or a C, and Run Carson in that similar path. But man, if the 3 runs this race, I think they're in trouble.
Well, and for those considering Roll On Big Joe, he's probably going to go down as the best son of Perspective, who I think has now been sent to Korea. But as it happens, Perspective, 20% with synthetic runners. So there's no reason why he shouldn't translate over.
Yeah,
but,
he already has a win on the synthetic.
Yeah, there you go.
If you think about it, I bet that was early on in his career. You look at his speed figure in comparison to the fast track and wet track. He's a better horse now, so don't let that speed figure fool you a little bit. He's got a big Tomlinson on the synthetic as well.
Well, the competition here, no balls for Ravelli.
Yeah.
What about Arrest Me Red for Wesley? Lucky Score, I think, is a viable in here.
What about Joe Shiesty and Script? I think Script's even a little viable at a big number way on the outside. Yeah, I've kind of put the ribbon around Howard Wolowitz. He's going to be a short price, and maybe I owe it to myself to go searching for some value as well.
It's unbelievable. It's a terrific, just an absolutely terrific sequence. All stakes pick 4, and of course, if you fold in the nightcap maiden special, you can take a shot at the late pick 5.
And
Tony,
I'll give you a horse to bet earlier in the card to build your bankroll is Golden Sunshine. I've been a big fan of her for a long time. She won over this racetrack last year. I think she's even better now than she was then. Golden Sunshine to pad the bankroll leading up to the synthetic championships.
That's in the 3rd race for those that are don't have the program in front of you. 3rd race, Golden Sunshine, the 2-horse Owen Hardy, who is off to a nice start to the meet, and we're off to a nice start. Our first chance to talk to Tony during the Turfway Winter, and first of several. Tony, good luck tonight and over tomorrow night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Always great. The Top Cat, TC, Tony Kalo, and the action at Turfway. Steve Anderson is going to join us next, and I talked to Steve, last night about the trio of topics for him right here at Los Al, of course, and it's going to be a marathon. I say this every year on this Friday before the card, because it starts with either the Starlet or the Futurity. It's been the Futurity the last couple of years. Then the evening card picks up, and at midnight, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, the $700,000 Champion of Champions, and then Steve will be doing his recapping, and he'll be watching the HKIR from Shatin at the same time, and he'll stay with it right through. So it's an overnight. Basically, it's an overnight session for Steve Anderson. But that, when we're running thoroughbreds here at Los Al, it's a combination, because then the quarters take over. So always look forward to the conversation, and then seeing Steve as well. And of course, we spent time with Steve at the Breeders' Cup, and the award-winning Steve Anderson. Looking for Steve now. Do we have Steve? Okay. If we have to pick up. Okay, very good. Thank you. I guess Steve was getting in position. All right. So I'll do the same thing by putting in position my 3 sets of past performances and notations. The Los Alamitos Futurity, the 440-yard, $700,000 Champion of Champions, and the HKIR. It's a marathon weekend for Steve Anderson. Good morning.
Hey, thank you for having me on the program. How's everything today?
Good. The fog. It was a foggy morning here, and I don't know if they were going to be able to do much clocking, because
well, I'm 6.5 miles northwest of you, and conditions are no better here, and the foghorn's going off every 30 seconds. So it's
interesting.
Welcome to a slow start to the day.
Well, it always clears up, and it always gets beautiful. And boy, Steve, this is a fun. I don't know how fun it is for you. You love the action, but it's pretty intense. You and Marcus have done the HKIR advanced work, but you've got the Futurity at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. Then the night session rolls around, and it'll be midnight in the East for the Champion of Champions, and the HKIR will be underway at the same time.
Yes, and it's pretty fascinating to look at all the different variations of racing. I mean, we're going to talk about a 400-yard race and one that's a mile and a half that closely resembles the Breeders' Cup turf. So it's really a diverse weekend in regards to the major stakes that are being run at those two venues, at least, and the ability to watch them both. So it's kind of a fun weekend annually. It almost always coincides this way. So looking forward to watching all these different races unfold.
Start with the futurity here, and do we know if Baffert's running? I imagine he's running litmus test because he named Hernandez, and then the other two, Providence and Blacksmith.
Well, I'll have to go into the weekend with the expectation that they're all going to start. And you're realizing that, as he did last weekend, he's been known to make withdrawals at some along the way. So let's assume that Providence and Blacksmith both run. Blacksmith is going to be a nice horse, I believe. He kind of was a mess in that maiden race that he ran in. He was at the back of the field as a short price favorite and finally ran on a little bit to be part of it. But I think he's got loads and loads of ability. But whether he runs in this race or is selected for a more sensible maiden race along the way remains to be seen. This is litmus test race to lose. The pace and the scenario sets up in his favor with a quick runner such as Acknowledge Me Please to his inside. Providence himself has some speed, and as does Captivator, who is on the outside post, but may also try to sit a stalking trip from that position instead of going out there and trying to do a lot of the early work. Litmus Test was 5 lengths behind Ted Noffey in the Breeders' Fraternity at Keeneland, and only a length and 3/4 behind him in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile at Del Mar on October 31st. You could easily say that Litmus Test is, in the top 5 of the 2-year-olds right now, going to soon to be 3-year-olds, and has every chance to show in this field that he belongs that highly regarded in the rankings going into the new year.
Talk a little bit, flesh out the other contenders. When you mentioned Acknowledge Me Please, the Bucero. Curiously, we've got 2 Ridgelings that bracket this 6-pack, because Captivator for Costa Aronis and Sadler, the Charlatan, is also a Ridgeling and a Mayfoal.
Yes, that was a nice maiden race win from Acknowledge Me Please, who was well regarded by O'Neill. Now, he held him out of the attempted Bob Hope Stakes at Del Mar last month in favor of this. There was some talk about trying to bring him back in the 7 furlong race. Well, in the end, that race never even filled. Interestingly, he was beaten in his debut by 2 lengths by Desert Gate, who later won the Best Pal Stakes and was second in the Del Mar Fraternity and in the American Pharaoh Stakes. So that even at the start of his career, Acknowledge Me Please, there's high hope that he'll develop into a promising 3-year-old too. Providence is bred to be the winner of any major race you could name. He's by Into Mischief, and he's out of Monomoy Girl, a 2-time champion. And this is her first foal, I believe. And he ran that way in a 6 furlong maiden race at 2-5. In September 27th in his second start. The problem was he didn't have the quickest time. So but that's 2 months ago, and a lot of these guys can change. More than 2 months ago, and a lot of these 2-year-olds can change it during that period of time. He had no reason to think he won't. Typical of a Baffert runner, fast works over the month of November, and then last weekend we talked about Litmus Test. Blacksmith we also talked about. He's one to follow over time. American King is 30-1 on the morning line, and that was very generous. Captivator, trained by John Sadler, they think he'll be a miler. He's by Charlatan out of a Medagliadoro mare, so there's clues within that suggest that a little more distance than his 6 furlong maiden win will fit this 2-year-old. He will not be wearing blinkers in this race after a win, which is not always the case, but Sadler said he was going to go to the stewards and ask to remove the equipment because Captivator was a little eager in his maiden win on November 8th. He talked about that in an article on drf.com. Captivator won that maiden race by 10 lengths as the odds-on favorite. The conditions of the race were a bit unique. It was horses that had been bought back at sale for $150,000, had run for a claiming price over the course of this calendar year, or were in for 62,500. And Captivator was bought back for like 120 grand as a yearling. So that was why he appeared in a restricted maiden claiming race, optional claiming race in his last start. So they took advantage of what was in the condition book to get a result that led to a 10-length win.
Field of 6 for the Futurity, and on the heels last week of Baffert win in the Starlet, ninth straight year that he has won the Starlet. And even though that filly did not exactly consequent, the Juddmonte homebred, didn't really post a big number, but she feels like a horse that is only going to move forward off of that, and keep an eye.
I think we should stay tuned on our conclusions and give her another race or two before you either get behind her or oppose her. Particularly since there's not a lot of depth in the 2-year-old filly division in California. No, more than likely, Bob Baffert will keep her on this circuit for her next start or two. So let's see what happens in the early new year at Santa Anita, et cetera.
Well, hours later, after the thoroughbred crowd thins out and the quarter horse crowd comes in, lots of big hats and shiny buckles and boots, and 9 o'clock, 9:01 post for the $700,000 champion of champions. And you weren't kidding last week, Steve. This is a really nice field, including the $2.5 million earning, 25-time winning 7-year-old Empress.
Impress him through the inside, which is going to be a tough post for him. He hasn't been running as sharply this year as he has in the past seasons. So in that sense, it's a little bit different of a circumstance for him. In that he does give up a little bit of ground. Now, the other thing you have to consider is that he's just got some younger rivals now that are just doggone maybe better. That's something that needs to sort of be addressed. What is interesting though is that just going through a few files here, he's getting really close to getting near the record of richest quarter horse held by KJ Desperado, more than 3.3 million. If he wins this race, he won't get there, but he'll get a lot closer. So that's interesting. I don't think he wins, even though he's 3-1 on the morning line. Jericho wins the race from post 9 if he gets out of the gate as well as he did in a trial race on November 16th. If he gets out of the gate in the manner in which he was beaten in the Los Alamitos Championship on October 11th, he loses. It's just that simple. 3 jumps from the gate. 4 seconds into the race, Jericho will pronounce himself as a potential winner or an also-ran. It's just there's no other two ways around it. His reputation is that of a horse who is unreliable at the gate. He has had opportunities many times in major races to clear that. He was 6th as the even 11-10 favorite in the Brad McKenzie Winter Championship almost 2 years ago after a slow start. He in this race last year, 9-5 favorite, again away slowly, and caught the eye in the last 100 yards, but that still only resulted in a loss by 1 3/4 lengths to Impress him. So there was that, and again I mentioned the Los Alamitos Championship on October 11th. So speaking to Chris O'Dell on Wednesday, the trainer, he said he's been working with this horse as often as he can. He says he's not the sort who's fussy in the gate or refuses to load. It's just that when he's in there, he's moving around a little bit. He says sometimes he'll take a step forward or a step back. Well, when you do that and you take a step back, and that's the split second in which the race starts, now you've given them something.
Yeah.
So in that sense, you can't make that mistake in a quarter horse race. So if Impressum is old, which may be a cruel assessment, and Norco is unreliable, well, who wins? And one of the answers might be FDD Dreams, the 3-year-old gelding out of New Mexico who won the Ruidoso and All-American Derbies in exciting manner at Ruidoso and Albuquerque in June and September. He was beaten in nose by the excellent filly Hot Temptation in a trial for the Super Derby on October 19th. Hot Temptation is part of this field. But then FDD Dreams had a bad start in the Super Derby. He couldn't get away, lost his footing, and never recovered. He was 6th by 1.5 lengths behind Norco, who's in this who's in this Champions field, and Norco was 57-1 to win the Los Al Super Derby. So Norco on the outside is a 20-1 shot. It shouldn't be that high, but I think he may get a little bit of support. He was looked upon early in his career in the spring of 2024 as a very nice horse, and in fact was favored to win the first of $3 million fraternities in June of that year. But again, he had a bit of a terrible trip and only finished 7th. And it's only been now that he's kind of gotten back to the form that Ed Allred and Scott Willoughby expected to see from him a long time ago. So 20-1 on the outside, probably won't win, but can he finish in the first 3? Yes.
Well, Pressum won this in 22 and 24, was second in 23, and you know, to have the longevity that this one has had, the 7-year-old Sorrel gelding, it's really quite something, actually.
Yes, and he hasn't really run badly this year. Let's be clear. He switched trainers earlier this year when Heath Taylor was suspended. Elena Andrade is the new trainer. For her, he's been beaten a nose, a head, and a head in 3 of the toughest older horse races at Los Alamitos. So he's fired his races every time. And even in his last start, he was on the inside post and ran very well in the 7-horse field. Now, this is 10, so it's a little different. But he has won major races from the rail. He's comfortable down there. Some horses don't run as well. Some horses like to be outside in a quarter-horse field to be at their best. And Pressum is effective from the inside. So I think he can run his race, but I'm just going to oppose him with some of the ones I mentioned, noticeably Jericho and FTD Dreams.
Well, and of course, Scoops Dynasty and Stanley Cartel have beaten him as well in 2 of those 3 races that you mentioned, the Go Man Go and in that other invitational. So this is another terrific edition of the Champions, $700,000 at midnight Eastern, and at the same time that's going on, as you're going to be sitting right behind where I am now, you'll be watching the HKIR. Some thoughts about the quartet of the biggest races on the end of the calendar year at Chatin.
Well, to summarize, there's 2 races you can bet on and 2 races you can't, because you've got Romantic Warrior, who'll be a huge favorite in the Cup, and you've got Kaying Rising, the brilliant sprinter, who'll be 1 to 10 or less in the sprint. So those 2 races are maybe you try to find the exacta, or maybe you just sit back and admire what you're watching. So in that regard, those races are tough to bet. Conversely, the Hong Kong Vase, which is worth which is a run in a mile and a quarter and worth more than $3 million, has drawn a very good field. 3 runners out of the Arc de Triomphe, including 3rd and 4th place finishers Sosi and Gaia Valetto, who won this race in 2024. And Gaia Valetto has only won 1 small race in England since then, but he was beaten 6 lengths in the Arc. There's Goliath, who was 11th in the Breeders' Cup Turf a few weeks ago at Del Mar. But I like Sosi quite a bit. Sosi is a 3-time Group 1 winner in France since the summer of 2024. And earlier this year, he was briefly favored to win the Arc de Triomphe in some early bird action, and wound up finishing 3rd behind in that race, beating a little less than 6 lengths. So he's run some good ones over the course of the last 18 months, and there's no reason to think he won't handle it as well here at Shot 10, going 1.5 miles. So I'd rate him as the top pick in a very, very good race as well. The mile, you can say a lot of nice things about some of the contenders in that field. The local horse Voyage Bubble is a 7-year-old gelding who can win anywhere from 1 mile to 1.5 miles. You saw that last year when he won a series of a Triple Crown series with races that were 1 mile, 1.25 miles, and 1.5 miles from January to May. Since then, he's been beaten in 2 starts. He was given a race more or less in the middle of October when he ran 12th in a Group 2, going 1 mile. But he came back in a very good Jockey Club Cup, another Group 2 race last month, over 1.25 miles, and was second to Romantic Warrior, who I mentioned a moment ago. So you can tell where Ricky Yu, the trainer, is trying to get Voyage Bubble, and that's ready to go on Sunday. And considering the fact the horse won this race last year and has shown excellent form at a variety of distances earlier this year. After his summertime break, Voyage Bubble looks tough to beat. He'll be really well backed in that race as well. There'll be money for Galaxy Patch, who's the mount of jockey James McDonald, who's a star in Australia. That horse won a Grade 2 going a mile on November 23rd. He's easy to like. And the Lion in Winter is in the field. He was third in the Breeders' Cup mile at Del Mar last month behind Notable Speech. That game was closing, looking pretty good there at the wire to only be beaten a length and a half. So good depth in the field. Ryan Moore rides the Lion in Winter for Aidan O'Brien. And on Wednesday, Ryan Moore won the 4-race jockey competition at Happy Valley Racecourse with his first mounts since, I believe, August, when he injured a leg and missed all the big deal races in the late summer and fall. But he's back now, and he's got a good book of mounts, as you would expect for Ryan Moore, at Hong Kong on Sunday. So if you can stay up late, or in case some of you folks that live back east get up early, it's really worth watching. Or secondly, just have some bets and sit back and get up in the morning and watch the replays, because it's that deep of racing. These are Breeders' Cup caliber races. Maybe in Hong Kong they say that the Breeders' Cup is Hong Kong caliber races, but you understand what I mean. This is the top of the tree.
Well, the Vaz goes as the fourth, and then the Sprint. excuse me. And then then there's that little mezzo, the mile, as the seventh, and the Cup as the eighth. And if you're on the West Coast, it's a little easier, but big stars and potentially some new stars take it in the HKIR. And Steve Anderson, as always, I appreciate it, and we will see you tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night.
Looking forward to the weekend. Thanks for having me on the program.
Always tremendous. Steve Anderson, everybody, who just doesn't matter. It's over the jumps at Cheltenham, the HKIR, the Everest, the quarter horses, the flat. He takes it all in. Mike Welch is going to join us, and I imagine that Mike is not going to be in great spirits. I was texting with him last night, and he made the mistake of staying up to watch the Panthers game. And Mike, I had my back to the TV, but all I kept hearing were people in Colorado cheering.
Yeah, I didn't have to stay up too late. It was once it got to 3-1. I was watching the football game too, and once the football game ended, there was no need to watch any more of the hockey game. You could kind of see early on that it was probably heading that way, but it was 1-1 for a while, so holding out hope. But they had to play the night before, and then we go up to Denver to play the best team in the league. There was not a lot of expectations there, especially with the team being about 4 guys short of their best, or 5 guys right now short of their best. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Did you say they put up a graphic last night that happened to catch my eye? Panthers are now after that would be 0-9 when trailing after 1.
Yeah, they are something like that. I thought they won a couple of games earlier this week. I thought one of those games they might have been trailing after the first, but maybe not. Maybe not.
I was shocked.
So,
I was also shocked that my Sabres came back and beat the Canucks 3-2. They were down 2-1. I was pleased with that when I woke up. That
I mean, the Panthers are just they've had 7, 8 of their starters out. Maybe they got 6 out now. Without Barkov, Tkachuk's coming back the end of the month. But if they just dig themselves too deep a hole, they're not going to make the play. If they make the playoffs and they have everybody back, that'll be great. But they could dig themselves too deep a hole. And Barkov may not be coming back at all. He may not even make it back even if they make the playoffs. But it's been a good run. So, but they're fun. I still enjoy watching the games.
No, you're. I'm still
it's
shocked.
fun just to watch Marchand play at 37 or 38 or whatever he is. He's been rejuvenated. So he's been sort of carrying them up to this point. And hopefully things will get better after the first of the year.
Well, the racing certainly at Gulfstream, nothing wrong with the early salvos of the winter season, and these two 3-year-old affairs, the 8th and the 11th, the Oaks and the Derby, Tropical Park, they came up tremendous, Mike. And I did not look at your standalone analysis in the pages of America's Turf Authority, but let's use the third graph. I promised everybody, and I sent out sheets for these two races. What's your read on the Oaks?
The one thing about it is, when Mark Cassie actually said the same thing when I talked to him, you run a 3-year-old stake on December 13th, you're supposed to get full fields without a doubt, because all these guys want one last shot at running against their own age group. But, it's not great. And for it to have come up as strong as it did was just a bonus there. So it's a full field of very good horses, makes it a super betting race. We are going to lose a couple of horses, though, I believe, because of this quarantine situation at Tampa Bay. So
Jerry
Crafty
Bennett
Collector, I'm going to guess, is going to have to come out of the Oaks, and Thundering for Derek Ryan, who would have been one of the outsiders. Granted, will probably not get, unless he had the foresight to ship out of there before this happened. The situation came up, and I'm sure that isn't the case, that we're going to lose Thundering in the Tropical Park Derby. But the good news is, for those wanting full fields, there are AEs that are looking to scratch in, so we should still have 12-horse fields in both races. It's a shame to lose Crafty Collector, though. I mean, she won the Stella Shiraz at 61-1, but if you watched the tape of the race or watched after the race, she galloped out tremendously. I mean, she was 1 in front at the wire, 6 in front on the turn. I thought she had a big chance. It wasn't going to be 61-1, but she still was going to be a little bit of a price in here. But Gerald Bennett's going to have to find another spot to finish off her 3-year-old campaign up at Tampa.
Dive in, Mike, and in a lot of ways, as I've made reference to these two races the last couple of days, a white jacket with red dots and black sleeves looks pretty formidable. It could be one of 3, 2 for Trombetta, 1 for Cassie. The Live Oak runners are players in this Oaks.
Yeah, they're all 3 are very live. And one more time is obviously, to me, the horse I want to see running here off of what she accomplished as a 2-year-old, and the fact that she's come back and won her first start at 3. But that Natalma race, Mark Cassie ran 1, 2, 3 in there, and then one more time won. And the horses she beat included Vixen, who is now I believe a multiple grade 3 winner and a grade 2 winner, and Nitrogen, who we all know who Nitrogen is, who was grade 2 winner on turf, won about 4 stakes on the turf, but then switched to the dirt and became even more notable, winning the Alabama and running second in the Breeders' Cup. So, and one more time, beat these 2 last year. So it's going to be fun to watch her and see if she has progressed from 2 to 3. Not all horses do, but she did come back and win an allowance race up at Woodbine, and the horse she beat in the allowance race that day actually came back and won a stake in her next start, and Mark Cassie bought her privately after that. So he's very excited about running this filly tomorrow, and I made her my top pick. Gets Javier Castellano aboard for the first time. Javier's riding very well since he's gotten down here for the winter. But you mentioned it's Mike Trombetta horses, Super Willowa and Mischief in Motion. They've been here for a while training. They've been working over the Tapeta. They've both been working very, very well. Super Willowa's won 2 in a row, but taking a big jump up in class, as Michael readily admitted. It's going to be a test for her. And Mischief in Motion, she's also in terrific form. She won the Christiana at Delaware and was second in the Stella Shiraz to Crafty Collector. So she's doing well too. So all 3 of those are among the many candidates, win candidates in this field.
Well, and back to, and one more time for a second, that comeback race, and she was off literally 53 weeks exactly. before making her 3-year-old debut. The horse that ran behind her half length, that Shotgun Wedding, turned around and won the Damsel, the Ontario Damsel.
Right, and then she was purchased privately by Mark, so he's got her in the barn now too.
There you go. So there's a lot going on. What was your
the other
1, 2,
horse
3?
I have to mention too is Destino d'Oro, obviously for Brad Cox.
Yeah.
A little overmatched in the Queen Elizabeth II, but a grade 3 winner earlier in the year, and certainly on her best, appears to fit in here too. I think she's the tepid 3-1 morning line favorite, but I think the betting is going to be close up among many of these in here.
Well, and I just pulled up your standalone from the paper, and you lose Crafty Collector, who you had picked second. So you scratch into, as it happens, a Live Oak Exacta one more time, and Mischief in Motion.
Yeah, and I mentioned both Mischief in Motion and Willowa, Super Willowa in there too. And again, I did not put Destino d'Oro in my top picks, but they're certainly a key contender for sure.
Well, and for those that are looking at their Thorograph pages right now, I mean, these make sense. Mischief in Motion at a price is going to have to move forward. But and one more time, and Super Willowa to me are the two that are poised. I should mention from a sheet perspective, Mike, the horse of at a monster price, the horse of Carlos David, Miss Mary Nell, all the way on the outside. This is a horse who's made steady improvement, running about every 6 weeks this year, and got down to an 8.5 on the synthetic, and a repeat of that. And if able to work out any kind of a trip under Jersey Joe, she's forward. Who knows if she can't hang on for a piece.
Yeah, they laid her off for a while. I don't know if she was on a farm or something, because she's only got 3 works on her resume, prepping for a comeback off a pretty long layoff, and she's going to be in post, I guess, 11 now, assuming Crafty Collector is coming out. So it's not going to be an easy journey, and we'll see if she's cranked up 100%. She did. Her first work was on November 8th. It was a little 3 A's. Did not come back for another 3 weeks off of that, and then has gotten in 2.5 miles. So whether she's going to be fit enough or not is a big question mark.
Let's get to the boys' race, the nightcap, the Tropical Park Derby, and I do see. I pulled up the analysis. You and Scully have landed on Candy Town.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a while to sort out who eventually I was going to put on top. And this was kind of a trip play for me. This horse has obviously progressed nicely the second half of the year, ran a big figure, beating older horses in an allowance race at Saratoga, came back in the Gio Ponte, kind of got caught wide. And then in the showing up, she was right within easy striking distance on the turn, and she got shuffled back in traffic along the inside, had to swing very, very wide, and then she finished best of all down the center of the track. So this just looks like a horse that's getting better and better. And of all the contenders in here, and there's even more, I think, in here that you can make a case for, I thought she might be the best priced, and it is Todd. So she's going to have to get a little help up front with the pace, but that should happen with Roar of the Beast and Tank breaking side by side. Should set an honest pace early on. So hopefully she can get a little bit better position. I think she should be a little more forwardly placed if she breaks Candy Town. And I just took a shot with her. Chapman's Peak for Brad is logical, coming up with a big effort, a great effort in the Commonwealth. She got caught late by Gaccioso, who really sat a sweet trip off her. This horse did all the dirty work, and then Gaccioso picked her up late. But I'm going to guess she's going to try to sit off that early speed in Chapman's Peak and maybe wait and try to make one move and get clear and then hold off the closes. But those are my top 2 picks. But again, Tiz Dashing, big win in the Grade 3 Hill Prince, was wide both turns and still hung on to win. Church and State, you got to look at day and age, maybe not so much for Marquez. He Layabout, I think, is a little sneaky. Ran well in the showing up and came back and worked well and gets Junior up for the first time. Gotta like that. So again, just a great betting race. Even Tank, back to his favorite track, but his recent form, his last few in New York were not terrific. They gave him a break, and looks like he's going to have to deal early with Row of the Beast. He kind of likes to do his best on the front end loose, but may not get that way here.
We're not going to adjourn without at least mentioning the least known undefeated horse in North America. Super Forces is 3 for 3. With the, right? The maiden winner at Presque Isle went to Colonial and won a non-2, and then came down early with Trombetta and won the showing up. And tell me anything about Cipriano Gill.
Yeah, I don't know that much about Cipriano Gill. So he's just come back in here, and I think he's ridden here before, but he obviously got along with this horse, did a good job getting him up in the showing up. He's trained well over the Peter. Subsequent to that race, that victory, he has been working, or he did work at least once with the filly, which of the two fillies I can't remember. Michael's Mischief in Motion, I believe they were workmates, and I thought Mischief in Motion actually held her own and maybe was even a little better than Super Forces when they worked together on a Tapeta one day. But they're all doing well from watching them train. And again, he's going to have to try to work out a trip from way outside. The one scratch because of the quarantine will help a tad, but he's facing a tough go from out there. Going to have to get some position into that first turn.
To me, if he's, of course, he also is going to move in one with Thundering coming out, so he's much like we mentioned with Miss Mary Nell. But it feels like the smart move with him is to just take him back and come with one run.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that's probably the strategy they're going to use. He came from back in the pack in an 11-horse field in the showing up. This will probably be 12, I'm going to guess. We have one also eligible here, so maybe Jimmy Toner will run Nick Raven too, and we'll have a full field of 12. But that was probably going to be the plan. I'm going to guess they're going to look to just try to get over as best they can, tuck back and tuck in, and take back and tuck in, and hope to come flying late.
Well, two terrific full fields, and in between all of that, you slipped in that maiden special 9th, your best bet, that Imperatrice.
Yeah, I just thought that first race of hers was very good. I mean, she caught another first-time starter at Todd's that she dueled and was second best. But I just feel like because she's got to benefit from the race, looks like she should get loose in the lead on the stretch out. And, from just looking at the form of the others, I just think if she gets to cruising on the front end, she should be good enough to win.
Mike Welch, everybody, and a very nice Saturday of racing at Gulfstream Park. And, of course, the DRF Clocker Report with everything you need from Palm Meadows and Palm Beach Downs and from Gulfstream, and the occasional tip in from up at Payson. Mike, thanks a lot. Good luck this weekend.
Okay, good luck to you too, and good luck to your Eagles on Sunday.
I appreciate that. With Mike that needs no help with the streaking Pats. Let's go down to New Orleans. Kevin Kilroy standing by, and it's a stakes card down at Fairgrounds, the Louisiana Cup. KK, good morning.
Steve, how you doing?
I'm good. Coming to you from Los Alamitos, and wasn't gonna let this slip through.
Kentucky. I'm actually sorry.
All right. So you're watching from afar. That's cool. That's all right.
Yeah, got to get back and see the kids and all that sort of stuff. So able to see the snow come in and have a little snow day around here, which creates craziness. I'll tell you that.
Nice. Well, give us a quick overview of we got some small fields in some of the stakes, but hit some of the highlights for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, number one is we got 12 races, so it's a big card. Lots of opportunities around some of those small fields to try to find prices and try to find some value. And of course, we do have 4 turf races. So 7 law bred races here, state bred. It's Louisiana Champions Day, and it's fun. I mean, it's always fun. It's such a neat program. It's so neat to see them come back year in, year out. So there's some familiar faces, and maybe the most celebrated of them all, not maybe, definitely, Touch Upon a Star, Steve, the Set Huts monster who won the New Orleans Classic last year, proved himself against the likes of Sierra Leone, and what a neat one. I mean, it's just so fun to see him come out every time. And Timothy Thornton up. Yeah, he's the goods, no doubt about it. I do think you can give a little bit of a look underneath at possibly a price in that Classic, which is race 4 to Sip It On Gin. A little bit of a tough go last out, and he just galloped out. He came across the wire with a huge finish. So he's adding some distance, going a mile and 1/8 for the first time, and I think he's worth a look underneath. I don't think you can take Touch Upon a Star on in earnest, but it's an opportunity. I think with all these races where you see it's an obvious favorite, if you just want to get on the other side of the coin, it doesn't cost you too much to do all but the one that you know is going to be singled for most tickets. So, but Touch Upon a Star is single for me in this early sequence.
Well, and I'll give the news as it's happening. Just heard from Alan Clanfer, who we talked to after Let Mike Figure It Out's win a couple of weeks ago. And right now, cross-entered, but Alan is leaning in this direction to have Let Mike Figure It Out, 4-1 second choice behind Touch Upon a Star. He's leaning in the Classic for now. Okay,
that's good to know, because I was wondering about that. The the other race, the Louisiana Turf, mile and 16th, it's that he's cross-entered in. It's a few of those that are just trying to run away from Touch Upon a Star. They're not necessarily turf horses, and that's race 9, but there's some really good form for a few of them. If you look at the likes of Cajun Matoli for Brett Brinkman, he's never been on the turf, but 8 out of 10 in the money, 4 wins, and he's a 3-year-old who's moving forward. He's late again for Alan Landry, same story, a 3-year-old moving forward that I think is running away. I think in this race, and this is a good one to find a price, Sambro has got Woods and Water. Tim Thornton knows him well. What I know about this horse is he runs great outside, and Tim knows that about him. He's got an outside post. He won this race last year. We'll see what they do. 12-1 the morning line. We haven't seen him since last meet. But Woods and Water, a big look, as is All Night Moonlight. But the 11, tough post, and we'll take a ton of money with Jose Ortiz up. But this turf race is an interesting one, I think, to find some prices. Race number 9 kicks off the late pick 4. Big Chopper, I think, is always worth a look. He's stretching.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Big Chopper.
I was talking to Scott Gelner about him, and he had some minor excuses for the Remington Park for him. He thought that he'd run better and that he would he'd be back to at least closer to his best self. We've seen him run some big races here in the state, specifically at Fairgrounds. So I think Big Chopper's worth a big look. And then Shane talking about Behemoth Star, he wasn't happy to see Behemoth. A tough start, in the Memorial, but rated. It's just not the way that Behemoth Star wins. It's been a couple times that I've seen him. He's ridden like that, and he just looks like an absolute flop. And that's what he did last time. It's hard to get really excited about him, but he will be a price. And if you are going to spread against the chalk, I think he's a use. And he should be much more forward. You can see Jose Luis Rodriguez is up. And I don't think that's because Paco doesn't want to ride Behemoth Star. I think it's because Shane wants Behemoth forward, and he knows Jose is going to take the marching orders.
What about the juveniles? What do we need to know about the baby race?
Yeah, for the colts that race 8, Creole Chrome for Joe was just 3 workouts for Joe Sharp, and he looked like a monster in the paddock. And I was talking to Joe about Creole Chrome after, and he said that he was like, "Oh, I thought he looked fat." I think it's his direct quote. or not. I thought he looked fat. He was fat, So he got fitness from that race. He ran a huge figure, 3 drills ahead of it. Was not fit according to Joe's estimation, and I trust that eye much more than my own, of course. And he's got one more drill since then. It's hard to get away from Creole Chrome, but I do think it's a good time to take a swing with the likes of Dynamite tonight. I think Sam Bro across the board is kind of a trainer in a barn that you want to be watching for. And if they do bet Creole Chrome to smithereens and they give you a price on our money man to 5, I mean, he broke through the gates ahead of that Peluso, and I think that really cost him to lose to Mr. Mo Money. I think we can fade Mr. Mo Money, who won the Peluso. I think he made a big step forward that it's going to be hard to repeat. So our money man and Dynamite tonight in there, assuming that they are much better prices, but Creole Chrome most likely winner in there. And for the Lassie, I think you got to give a look to Swampy. I mentioned Bro. Jimmy Creed filly, who I was talking to Ray ahead of the Ferguson, Ray Lou Gutierrez, who was in town to ride Swampy, and he thought that she had a lot of talent and there was some good talk around her, and she just tended to a hot pace and really went kaput after that. So I think she's got maybe a better pace setup than she did last time, and the price is going to be fantastic to take a swing to her getting back to her best. So a bullet workout since, I think she might rebound in a good way. But it's hard to knock Little Miss Curlin. But you just have to get creative in a card like this. Otherwise, you're going to be on a lot of chalk. And it's going to be fun to watch, but not necessarily fun to bet. So Swampy for the Lassie for me.
There we go. All right. KK, one other, it's all law-bred action. One other doesn't have to be a stake. Maybe that second-level allowance on the grass, the 7th.
Let's see that 7th, the beginning of the Crescent City 6, which has been such a success. I love that
it's been a good start.
Crescent City 6 going. Yeah, it's been good. Boss of all bosses had just an easy walk in the park last time. It's kind of the same sort of that Calicoco faced last time. A lot of outside speed in here with that titanium deal. What do you do with this race, Steve? I was looking at this one. I mean, maybe is the one who could get the setup, Paco and Shane. Shane's heating up right about now. Maybe Pegaso gets a better trip than last out, went way wide and should have stayed in. Sonia knows better. I think, again, back to Bro, I think is the best turf horse in here. We'll just see if that forms there. It does have a good draw in the 2. So maybe keep with Bro there, the 2. Sonia knows better.
Nice. 10-1. Excellent. KK, I appreciate it. Enjoy and give the kids a pat on the head. We'll talk to you soon.
They're making snowmen outside, so
that's it.
I'll cheer them on from the window. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for calling. I'll talk to you later.
Trust your luck, everybody, on Twitter. Kevin Kilroy. And I hope if he's going out and making snowmen with the kids, he's not wearing the straw hat. He's wearing maybe a knit hat. Craig Dato standing by in San Diego as we look to week 15 and another winning week last week for Sports Injury Central. The 2 player props, the Ward was an under, Genty was an under. The side, Indy, who just is in the midst of a real crisis in Indy. But 2-1. And Craig, how was the rest of the week for you guys?
We had a solid week, very solid week, but we really liked the plays for week 15. Really excited about this week. So let's jump in.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of marquee games this week, and I'm not going to give you one of them. I'm going to give you a game that you would probably not even want to watch, but I think there's a great opportunity here. And this is Carolina at New Orleans. New Orleans beat Tampa Bay last week, and everyone's thinking, hey, they're not bad. But you saw what Tampa Bay was all about last night. They are not that good. And there's a little bit of hype in this game. We think the spread is completely wrong. Carolina is only favored by 2.5. Carolina is coming off a bye, and they are extremely healthy. They have a 6 score of 87.6. New Orleans is down to 80.3. That's a 7.3 Sports Injury Central 6 score differential. That is a massive difference. Carolina is a lot healthier. The only injury they have is their right guard is out and their left inside linebacker is iffy. They are in good shape. On the other side, New Orleans, who I think is a little overhyped right now, coming off a win. Kamara, their running back, is out. Their center is out. Their right tackle looks like he's going to play through, but he's iffy. And on defense, their secondary is really banged up. Strong safety's out, free safety's questionable. We like Carolina giving only 2.5. We think this could be a blowout. Carolina over New Orleans. That's our play for the week.
Interesting. All right, because Dave, it's interesting. You and Dave at odds on this. All right.
He's going New Orleans, huh?
And of course that was yesterday, so it was without the benefit of watching Tampa give it up late last night. But plus he teased. He put the Saints in a tease as well.
Well, let's see what happens. This is strictly based on injuries. Again, I think we're on the healthy side, and the team coming off a bye with something to play for. Carolina at 7-6 is still in the playoff hunt. New Orleans has been done for a while. They might just be packing it in.
There we go. All right.
All right. On
props.
I got 2 props for you. One of them is going to be right in that game. We're going to go with the quarterback for Carolina, Bryce Young. Again, New Orleans secondary is not healthy. We think that coming off a bye, young quarterback, feeling good, healthy receivers, bad secondary he's playing against. We think he's going to go over his 191.5 prop. And I don't go overs very much, as you well know, but we're going to go overs there. And then I'm going to go the other prop. I will go back to my unders. And this is a guy that I've picked on a little bit this year, but I'm going to do it. And that's the quarterback for Green Bay, Jordan Love.
You can't go to the well too often on him.
No, it's been Ashton Genty and Jordan Love. My two guys.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah. So here's the deal here. When you're betting unders and props, you got to be careful about quarterbacks who will be behind late and chasing and picking up meaningless yards. That is not the case here. This will be a very close game against Denver. Should be a tight, probably a low-scoring game. And the numbers just don't favor Jordan Love. His O-line score is 76.4. That's very low. His pass catcher score is 72.7. That's very low. Meanwhile, Denver not only has a really good defense, but a really, really healthy defense. 88.3 overall. Everything points to an under for poor Jordan Love this week. So we'll go under 223 yards and a half passing for Jordan Love, along with the over for Bryce Young at 191.5.
223.5 is a
pretty big number, right?
Yeah, that seems like a wacky number, and not to mention they're in Denver, right? They
are in Denver, absolutely.
All right, I like it.
By the way, we got another special for your listeners. Go ahead. We did really well with this last week, so we're going to roll it back out again. Not only is it an 80% off instead of $50 for all of our picks, and that includes basketball, college football, everything, and the NFL. We're going to give it to you for only $10. So just put BIK in as the promo code. We will also guarantee, we'll have a guaranteed pick where if we miss on our guaranteed pick, we will refund every penny. And we are 14-7 in the last 2 years on our guaranteed pick. So there's a game we absolutely love. We think we can't miss. We'll give that to you. If you hit it, you hit it. Congratulations. You only spent $10. If we miss it, we'll give you your $10 back. So almost risk-free.
Pretty much risk-free. SIC Score on Twitter, sicscore.com. And, of course, the halftime show with Craig and Dr. Chow evaluating any nick-ups in first halves for those of you that play in game.
You mentioned the halftime show. That's been crazy this year. We're like 67% on our halftime picks, which is just crazy. We know we can't keep that going, but we may as well brag about it while we have it, right?
No, you can't. Craig, your stuff. You guys have been, all three of you. Rich Ang is standing by. You and Rich and Dave. I get emails and you guys have had a sustained season of success, so it's appreciated. And good luck.
You know what I've learned, Steve? I just need to bet more myself. Damn it! Why don't I bet more?
What do they say? You can never bet enough on a winner. Exactly. Get to it. Craig, thank you.
You got it. Have a great day. I know you're busy. Get back to horse racing.
Well, we got Rich Yang, so it's a combo. All right. We got a little bit of horse. We got a little bit of pigskin. Mark Ratsky's going to sit in for the last 5, 6, 7 minutes. Rich Yang, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Steve. Yeah, good to hear Craig Dado. I remember him long time from Santa Anita in Del Mar, and now he's on the new venture, I guess.
Well, he's been doing, this is now, it's like 6 years that he left. Yeah, he left Del Mar to start this with Dr. Chow, and they're sustained. They're established and sustained big time. And of course, that could be said about you too. Over decades of analysis, whether it's the horses running afternoons and evenings, or the pro sports and college sports. Kind of a mixed bag last weekend. I know you split. I know Kennesaw came through last Friday night, but then Indy. I got to be honest. I'm so happy for IU. I dated a girl from IU when I lived in Cincinnati, and we would go and gone to a couple of football games and watched, including one against Ohio State where I think they lost 40-6. It's really exciting for the Hoosiers. I mean, the basketball program obviously has had its many days in the sun, but for that football program to reach these heights is really notable.
Yeah, the stat I saw was that Ohio State had beaten Indiana in football 30 straight games.
Yep.
And finally, Indiana got
a measure of
revenge.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, there's an excellent chance of a rematch, and that should be one heck of a football game.
That'd be
if
crazy.
The 1 and 2 seeds meet again. That would be fun.
It would. All right, dive in, Rich. I gotta keep this train on the track.
Yeah, let me rip through some picks, so we'll leave some time for Mark. We'll do 2 horses, 2 college, and 2 pros. We'll start with the horses first. Aqueduct, race number 4 is a mile. I made the special weight race. I like the number 4 horse. She's a Gemma. 5-2 in the morning line with Sahin Savachi. And a very interesting jockey mix at Aqueduct. I've been noticing you get the leading rider from Woodbine, Savachi. You get Hazelwood, the leading jockey from Laurel, and you get Ruben Silvera, leading rider from Parks, and they're all taking on Manny Franco and Flavion Pratt and the boys. So very interesting jockey. But as far as the pick, race 4, number 4, she's a Gemma at Aqueduct. Let's go to Gulfstream Park for another pick. Race number 7 at Gulfstream Park. They're on a Tapeta, and a horse that won at Presque Isle Downs last time out is the number 6, Pedro Nunez. I'm trying to remember if that's a baseball player, but interesting name. Anyway, this horse won at Presque Isle Downs, and a lot of those horses run well when they ship out to other places. Let's go with the 6, Pedro Nunez, 8-1 in the morning line. I know you and the listeners will like that.
There you go.
Steve.
Big time.
As far as college football, 2 games on Saturday. Couldn't pass the Army-Navy game without a play, but historically, the dogs usually bark in the Army-Navy. These teams, they're mirror images of each other because of the way they play the option and the way they defend, and you don't get these 300-pound behemoths on the offensive and defensive line. I'm going to take the dog, Army, +6 against Navy for a competitive game. And then later that night, the first of the bowl games is the LA Bowl at SoFi Stadium. Boise State from the Mountain West against Washington. I'm going to fade some of these Mountain West teams. A lot of times it's a step up in competition to face a stronger conference, stronger opponent. I'm going to take Washington -9 in the LA Bowl, Steve. And then we'll finish up with 2 pro games toward the end of the rotation. 479, 480 is the Tennessee Titans at the San Francisco 49ers. This is the last gimme game for the 49ers till they reach a real tough 3-game stretch at the end. But the 49ers are on a nice win streak. They're really percolating with McCaffrey and Purdy and the boys. 49ers -12. I'm going to lay big lumber to roll over the Titans. And the final game I'll give out is on Monday Night Football on Monday, December 15th. The Steelers and the Dolphins. And I heard this stat on another station, Steve. I could not believe it when I heard this stat. But teams that have played the New York Jets this year, the next week, they are 1-11 against the spread. And the Dolphins played the Jets last week. That's an interesting trend. I'm not exactly sure why, but that stat was given out. Let's go with the Steelers -3 to continue the anti-New York Jets trend.
How about that? That is a wacky number. How about 1-11? That just means maybe the Jets are physical and they have played a lot of close games, and that's a Johnny DeSantis kind of a stat. Johnny's got data services that produce those kinds of numbers. Richie, I appreciate it, and we're just about 2 weeks away from the start of your most serious handicapping season, the Santa Anita schedule, and we'll talk next week. I'll be at Remington.
Hey, sounds good, Steve. Good luck, everybody.
Rich Eng, folks. Rich Eng for Pro Pick. And, of course, you listen to Rich with Ralph Sirocco on Race Day Las Vegas and racedaylasvegas.com. Pop on Rich's head and get his analysis and another chance to spend a few minutes. No, okay, lean forward. Let me try this. There you go. Mark Ratsky joins us again this year, and I invoked your name at Symposium. Eric Hallstrom talked about the imputed odds presentation for players to help them offset the incursion of CAW money, and you instituted the same program here, little different, using the Pick 3 will pays, so it starts showing up for players in the third race. But how's it been received in the year since you put it in?
It's been very well received, and since we did it, Santa Anita and Gulfstream Park have also added their. I don't know how they're doing theirs, but. We have our own algorithm here that we use. And again, we only use Pick 3s because I don't think the double is reliable enough. Someone could play a big double and throw it off. And another thing I want to make clear, it really works the best when logical horses have led up to that. If there's like a 50-1 shot,
it skews.
It skews. And there have been times when I have not put up projected odds, knowing that we had a big long shot and that it really isn't fair to use them. So, but if first, second, or third choices win the first two legs, you could set a morning line by the will pays without even looking at a horse's past performances. Yes. And I guarantee you, no knock on the morning line, it would be better than the morning line.
Just the fact that you worked hard on this, you convinced management, and this is what we need, throughout the industry, and that's proactive efforts to help players, understand where the prices are going to land. So it's greatly appreciated. I mentioned yesterday morning, you were on my list of people, the extensive list, to pay tribute to the late Jeff Siegel, and I that wonderful photo from the Santa Anita press box with all of you guys, and. That
was taken in 1989. Yeah. I have to say 5 of the 12 people are dead.
Wow.
Wow.
I
so
did not
really
realize
hits home.
that.
Yeah, including Siegel was the most recent one.
Yeah.
And these are all people that we were together every day. We loved it. And to describe Siegel, I would say, you want to find the best comedian? Ask other comedians. You want to find the best singer? Ask other singers. You ask the handicappers in Southern California, who do they respect? Whose opinion do they want to hear? Jeff Siegel. So that's the way I sum up Jeff Siegel. He was the handicapper's handicapper. And a wonderful guy.
Exactly.
And a good guy. A great guy.
Never saw him get angry, although I was told during that 3 hours that there were, on occasion.
I saw him get shut out once. He got very upset.
That just is great insight to the only thing that would get Siegel worked up. I told Kurt Hoover, with Siegel's passing, Hoover kind of, I think, inherits that mantle of the handicapper's handicapper, and he's not a guy that's out there. I mean, he's on TV, but he's not a guy that is out there with, touting and pounding his chest. He's been as steady at the wheel for decades.
Well, back in the day in '89, we were all newspaper handicappers. I worked for the Forum. Jeff had a syndicated thing, so there was no internet. So it was all newspaper handicappers. Yeah. That's where you saw all the picks and all the selections.
And legends, absolute legends. And we've only got. I'm sorry, I ended up so tight on time. Everybody needed to be in the last 90 minutes today. It was a weird. That doesn't happen all that often. Some thoughts about the weekend here, and Starlet last week. We've got. This was a solid 6-pack for the futurity tomorrow.
Yeah, I think if you look at stakes races in Southern California on the dirt, they're just not big fields.
Yeah.
It's not just Los Alamitos. It's tough stakes races on the dirt, draw smaller fields, and the turf races get the bigger fields.
You got any opinion for tomorrow that you want to lean on?
No, not really.
Nothing
Just,
special?
I'm looking forward to the races.
Well, Mark Ratsky, who, as I've explained to people, the people that are on the mailing list, I don't know if you're looking to broaden it, but you have such a fun and inventive mind, the way you send out news, sort of ripped from today's headlines, and you accumulate things, and then you send out really thoughtful. I always am excited to see what you're addressing with those. How long have you been doing that?
Couple of years.
Yeah, it's right. It's just
once every other week, maybe.
There you go, and it's some quizzes, and you pick off names and
put in some movie
entries.
references.
Yes,
for you
exactly,
and a few other people.
Absolutely, which I love. Mark Ratsky, everybody who is behind your imputed odds charting here at Los Alamitos. Thanks.
Thank you.
Always good to see you. Mark Ratsky closing out a frenetic 3 hours. Thanks to Rich Eng and Craig Dato, Mike Welsh, Kevin Kilroy, Steve Anderson, Tony Kalo, Hammer, of course, Santa Anita calendar at yahoo.com. Your top 3 all-time favorite sitcoms. Scully and Tamaro to start the handicapping extravaganza. Good luck this weekend. I'm going to put up the Oaklawn Get Out Pick 3. I'll work on that right now and put it on the website. A bunch of stuff for tomorrow, and coming to you from Santa Anita Monday and Tuesday before we close out the travel schedule for the year at Oklahoma City at Remington for Springboard Mile. Good luck this weekend, everybody. Opening day, safe, good meet at Oaklawn. Talk to you Monday.
With Steve Byk on Sirius XM Radio.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Naira Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions and offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night nationwide. Get the action in thrill horse racing with Naira Bets. $200 deposit match with promo Steve200. Visit NairaBets.com for details.
Horses power Virginia's economy, creating over 38,000 good, fulfilling jobs every year. Think about the farmers, the farriers, the feeders, the athletes, trainers, drivers, and jockeys, caretakers and landscapers, investors and interns, veterinarians, restaurant owners, restaurant workers, tour guides, trail guides, equine therapists, and so many more. Now that's horsepower. Virginia's economy wins with horses.
The Pennsylvania breeding program is the best program in the country. The Stallion Awards, the owner bonuses, also the restricted races and the stakes races for Pennsylvania breds. This year, 8 breeders are on track to earn over $200,000 in breeders' awards, and 2 could hit the $1 million mark. We have the best program in the country. Take advantage of the fantastic program that we have. Learn more at pabred.com.
Nothing compares to a horse. They inspire greatness, command respect. Because Virginia's horse industry isn't just racing and farming. It's built on the skills, labors, and passions of dedicated people working in every industry throughout our state. Horses fuel the economy, create jobs, support thousands of families, and even make dreams come true. Virginia's economy wins with horses. Find out more at virginiahorseracing.com.